Or you notice your colleague who has stopped straightening her hair to work. Really appreciate her. This is more than about a hairstyle, it's about self love and self worth.
Cheyenne Cochrane, an advocate in the movement for women to embrace their natural hair. I remember a time when, and I'll speak from the perspective of being a black woman and growing up as a young black girl. But whenever there was an event or an occasion, something special happening, you'd always be told, "Tsamodira moriri, go and do your hair." And go and do your hair always meant that you are going to get it relaxed, whether you like it or not. There's no way out. That is the instruction that comes from home. Why? Because if it's not relaxed, it's not the one. Ladies, I know you know what I'm talking about. Driving in your car on the way to work, sitting at home listening to the radio. So please don't roll your eyes and judge me like you don't know what I mean. Including the men too, because you saw it in your own households. Whether it was your sisters, your mothers, natural hair was incredibly unpopular at some point in our lives. And I'm so glad that we get to be part of the generation that can chart a different path for our children and that can create a different narrative for ourselves. I don't have a problem with relaxers. I personally have never been able to survive relaxers because I've got a sensitive scalp. So you can imagine the amount of crying I used to do in the chair. And your scalp just burns. And then you come back with, traumatic. So growing up and going to the hair salon, I did not like that experience at all, which is why when I turned 18 and I went to varsity and could start making my own decisions, the first thing I did was to grow my hair natural instead of going to do it in a traditional stance. I think some of you can also, if you can, please share your hair stories, because it is such an important part of how culture is shifting. Again, I remember a time when if men had dreadlocks, they were automatically seen as being dangerous. Patrick, my technical director, he's got dreaded hair, half dreaded, half afro. If he was walking down the street 25 years ago, he would have automatically been seen as some kind of a nefarious character. Like, watch that guy with the dreads. He's up to something. And I'm so glad that today you can have people with dreadlocks in boardrooms, and there's nothing wrong with that picture. May we continue to evolve as a society. Anyway, you're listening to The Talking Point. It's a pleasure to be in your company this morning. My name is Cathy Mohlahlana. I'll be with you until midday as we lead conversations that move us. We'll start off with the open line, 086 000 2032. That's the number to dial, 086 000 2032. Of course, this is your National Roundtable. You're more than welcome to raise any issue of national importance on the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. Coming up in the second hour of the show, it is a Tuesday, so we're talking finance with Brian Hirsch. And then this is the final Tuesday of the month. Geesh, August is already done. I can't believe that. So this is the final Tuesday of the month. So we're going to be taking then the questions that you've been sending through to Brian throughout the month that we have not necessarily been able to get to. It is your Q&A line. And I see Brian has already put those questions together. It's quite a long list. Hopefully we'll be able to get through as much of it as possible. And then the final hour of the show, we're going to be in conversation with the Deputy Politics Editor of News 24. And she's going to be speaking to us specifically about a new project and a new book that she has put together. and it focuses specifically on why Black African women leave South Africa's newsrooms. And she spoke to 10 Black African journalists with years of experience in newsrooms, and they were able to share their stories and give insight into what it is that makes it so hard for Black women in particular to stay in newsrooms. So we'll have a look at that issue in the final hour of the show. This morning, as we start off with the open line, I see that the Commission of Inquiry into the allegations or the allegations made by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, that has not gotten underway. In fact, they released a statement this morning saying that the 1st of September start that had been earmarked for their work to get underway has been delayed. As things stand, there is no new determined date yet, and the Commission also confirming that this was due to delays in the procurement of what they've described as vital infrastructure. And they apologize to the people of South Africa for the delay and for the inconvenience. So that's what we're looking at. And as far as that commission is concerned, it's not going to be starting off next week as we may have anticipated. In the meantime, today, in the High Court in Pretoria, General Shadrack Sibiya is going to be going face-to-face with his boss, the National Commissioner, Fani Masemola. He's fighting the order for him to stay at home by the SAPS. At the heart of the matter, you'd remember, is that instruction to disband the KZN Political Task Team killings, the killing unit, and where that instruction emanated from. What we know is that the minister has confirmed that he gave the instruction. However, there's contestation around how that instruction filtered down through Masemola or directly from the minister to Sibiya. Masemola is contesting that he never instructed Sibiya to disband the entire political killings task team unit. Sibiya, on the other hand, is saying he has evidence to show that this was an instruction from the commissioner's office. So today then, the two will face each other in court, and I guess it will be the opportunity for the court to deal with the facts that are placed before it instead of the he said, she said that we have seen play out in the public space. So that's going to be a big one to watch because it will, of course, also have some kind of bearing on the work that the inquiry is also set to do. So it is your open line. I see lots of you already lined up. So let me shut up. We'll take a break and I'll get straight into your calls.
This year, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3 unforgettable days deep in the art and heart of jazz. From the 26th, 27th and 28th of September, Umu Sankare, Ababemu, Jasmia Horn, Silent Law and the Noisemakers, Najbonk Trio, Michelle Ndingio-Jello, Valencini, Gabby Mutuba, and over 50 world-class acts will be ready to welcome you and yours to 4 magnificent stages of the Sandton Convention Center. Take me there. Buy your tickets at Ticketmaster now.
The Atlas Lions believe their plan to graduate to the final will succeed. But the Teranga Lions believe Lions from the West will undoubtedly roar and triumph. This is the semi-final clash of the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Morocco versus Senegal. This Tuesday, 26 August at 7:30 p.m. Live everywhere, for everyone. Always on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Early hours of the morning, our champions of democracy open voting stations for us. 55% of the 27.6 million registered voters are women. We salute your strength and leadership. Late into the night, they count votes for us. Majority of women voted in the last elections. We salute women championing democracy and shaping South Africa's future. Make your voice heard at the ballot. All roads lead to the 2026 local government elections. Register or update your details. Show up and let your vote count. Here's to Women's Month. Women champion democracy. Visit elections.org.za for more or call 0800 11 8000. This message is brought to you by the IEC.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, let me get straight into the open line this morning. Remember the number to dial to reach our studio line, 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. Let me go to Lindela in Kokstad. Good morning.
Cathy, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
No, very well. Also, Cathy, I'm very interested about this topic of hair, natural hair, particularly hair policy in schools, in black schools particularly. You have some schools that have a hair policy that says all learners must cut their hair. I have one school in my area with that policy. Now I'm very curious to hear other people what is the take, what their take is about this thing.
Does it apply to both girls and boys?
Everybody at school. And also what is very sad now is that certain teachers and schools and principals and SGPs overlook even the religious and cultural aspects of it, because you have members of the community that culturally or for cultural reasons or for religious reasons don't cut their hair at all. They shouldn't cut their hair. People like the Nazarene religion, the Rastafarians and so on. And then this policy applies throughout for everybody at school.
What do you think they're trying to deal with, Lindela? Do you think they don't want people to have dreadlocks? Or braids? Or what? What do you think is behind it?
Yes. Actually, because I went to a parents meeting where this thing was addressed to parents. The reasoning behind it is cleanliness, cleanliness and neatness. Now, my biggest problem with this is that you are entrenching in the learners, in children's minds, that natural black hair is unclean until you have cut it short. Now, and historically, this only applies to black schools. It has only been done in black schools by black teachers. I've never seen such a policy with other races. Okay. I'm very curious to hear other people. Thanks a lot.
Lindela, thanks for that,
yes.
and for putting it out there as well. So, maybe some of our listeners in the broader community can also talk about what the experiences have been. Look, hair policies in schools have always been, a point of contention. But this is also an area where the school governing body has a very strong say. So it always comes down to the involvement of the parents, where people are when these decisions are being made. Kirk, you're in Cape Town. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. How are you? I know you well. Cathy, the hair issue is very sensitive. I am from the colored community, mixed community. So, what you get when you have kids is a lottery. Sometimes you get a straight hair, sometimes you get a curly hair. And I've seen how families have been not split, but in a funny sense, have been split because of the hair issue. So
in what ways? In what ways, Kirk? And is there a preferred, hair type?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, Cathy. The straight is preferred. Always the straight is preferred. So if you have straight hair and I have curly hair, you have one up on me. And then, of course, the reality of managing the curly hair is an ongoing issue with the relaxing, with the ironing back in the day, and product chemical application. And that has never become more true to me when my wife and I adopted a little girl at 5 months old, a Xhosa girl with very curly hair, and we were unaccustomed to dealing with her hair type. And it's been a 7-year ongoing issue using different products, trying to braid, and yeah, it's a real challenge for us.
Yeah, look, and you know, I guess part of the challenge is because straight hair has historically been promoted, there have been very few products that were developed for curly hair. The intention was that if your hair is curly, we'll develop products so that you can get it straight.
Correct.
Yeah, but I'm really fascinated by the fact that this can be something, as you describe it, that breaks families apart.
Look, it didn't break families apart. There was a lot of humor attached to it.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, with impressionable kids growing up, there's always going to be a hang-up over why can't I have straight hair, or why can't I have long hair, or why can't I have light hair, you know, that type of thing. And with my daughter now, we only use natural products on our hair. So the natural products are not did not give you the controlled result of the harsh chemical products. So in other words, if you want to soften the hair, you have to use the really tough stuff. And it's not great for their skin, not great for their scalps. And it's not sustainable in our opinion.
Yeah.
So we have left her hair natural. And of course, she can't have the Barbie hair. She can't have the ponytails. She can't have the braids because it's too painful for her, and we won't subject her to that punishment, that torture. So yeah, it's our ongoing little battle in our home.
That story makes me so sad, Kirk. It makes me so sad. Look, I know, having transitioned from having sort of, you know, chemically processed hair, relaxed hair, to natural hair, that when you start, it is very much a journey of learning, right? Because it's something new. It's just something you've never done. And often there is this, you know, perception that it takes too much effort to maintain natural hair. But once you find a rhythm, you're able to stick to it. So kudos to you guys for having done it for 7 years so far. And I know it just requires more and more commitment, but you have no idea what you're doing for her beyond just the fact that you're managing the hair. It's communicating something much more powerful and deeper.
Absolutely, and it is difficult though, because the social pressure is the long hair, the straight hair, the blonde hair.
Yeah.
Whether it's on YouTube or on music videos or on just general society, the boxes in the stores.
Okay.
Showing an image of perfect hair or ideal hair. So our battle is still coming. Teenage years are coming.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that. Thank you, Cathy.
All right,
a wonderful
Kirk.
day.
Thanks for that story, Kirk. Yeah, really, really interesting perspective there. Let me see. Okay. Let me rather take a voice note to lead us to headlines, and then I'll continue with the calls. Aisha, you're up next on the other side of the latest headlines.
I remember. Hi, Cathy. I wear my hair naturally now, and it's so beautiful. I'm a chief financial officer of a company listed on the JSE, and I just look professional. I never thought I would look professional, you know, in that setting with my hair, and I just do. And my daughter wears her hair naturally, and when she sees me with my hair out, because she always has braids, when she sees my hair out, she's like, "Oh, Mama, I can't wait for my hair to look like that." And I think we are on the right path. We are beautiful. Ladies, try it. Your natural hair is absolutely gorgeous.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the Cancer Alliance is demanding that the Gauteng Health Department release a list of names of patients treated. This after the department said it had cleared the cancer treatment backlog. Arguments in the application to drop charges against one of the accused in the Senzumehiwa murder trial are expected to continue in the High Court in Pretoria this morning. And the courts in the United States have again intervened to stop the deportation of Kilma Abrego Garcia. The Trump administration had wrongly sent him to a notorious prison in El Salvador earlier this year. I'll have details on these and other stories at 10.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, we continue the conversation on The Talking Point. It is your National Roundtable, and I'm taking your calls on 086 000 2032 on the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. Aisha, you're in Uppington. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy.
Aisha, I can't hear you very clearly. Just try and speak up a little bit, please.
I said morning, Cathy.
There we go. Much better. It's been a while since we last spoke, Aisha.
Yeah. I don't actually want to speak to you, Cathy. I want to speak to the Director General of Coxter and the Director General of Housing. Please make sure that they get this. To the DG of Coxter, I would like to know by you, since your staff came and did the housing applications in Dakota, Uppington. It is almost 1 year. 2 contractors later. The first contractor was here for 3 months. He put up a camp and then he vanished. Then we had to wait because you put up a second contractor. That was in December last year. It's now almost September. Nothing has been built. Not one single house has been built. That is for the DG of Coxter. Oh, and another thing for the DG of Coxter. The Khoi and the San are the indigenous peoples of South Africa. We do not want to be lumped together with the traditional leader, with the Nguni traditional leaders. Our indigeneity is non-questionable and non-negotiable. So, what you must do is write the act for us. We have inherent and inalienable rights under international law, which includes our water, our mineral, our biodiversity, our fishing rights, amongst others. And to the DG of Housing, I want to say, I don't know how you two DGs work. Can you please fix this? Can you please ensure that the people that you employ come and build these houses? That's all that I wanted to say. Oh no, one last thing, Cathy, if I may.
Go ahead.
To the colored people. We are the indigenous people of this country. We have inalienable and inherent rights, whether they like it or not. And please stop, you that call yourself leaders, please stop attending the national dialogue because you are ceding your rights. 1. 2, we never had kings. We had national leadership. So please don't embarrass yourself and us by doing these silly things and calling yourself kings and queens.
Okay.
Thank you, Cathy.
Okay. Aisha, quite a mouthful. We'll leave it there. You heard Aisha. She wasn't talking to me. She was talking to the DGs of Coxter and of Human Settlements. I guess she's still waiting for delivery of the RDP housing that they were promised. Thokozani, you're in Durban. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy and listeners. I'm so glad that you spoke about hair because at some stage in Senate House. I used to appreciate your hair and a certain lady from Banato because your hair was so natural. You'll wear your hair with natural, and we're still on that transitional phase. I don't want people to know our ages are.
Yeah.
But
you know, you talk about Banato. I'm like, this is campus days at Wits University.
Just talking. I know you from there, and let me tell you, I'll have a problem with my partner when I'm telling my daughters that they must wear their hair naturally. And when 4 years back, when there was that protest on a certain school regarding the hair, my youngest daughter was going to that particular school. And I wrote to you, I put a tweet into your account because you were still presenting. I think you were in NCA. I say, nice hair. And I was so glad. Solange, I think it's Beyonce's sister, liked the comment and it went viral. And I'm so grateful that you're speaking about hair today and you're still talking about hair, that it's still that elephant in the room. It's just like patriarchy. I think I'm looking at it as if it's patriarchal or it's the colonization of us. Now, I really don't know. I'm having a little bit of a patch in my head and I'm cutting a cheese pop. Can I live with my pet?
Is it that time of life, Thokozani?
It is.
You're having to count what's left on the head.
So now I'm caught between the rock and the hard place. Can I leave my hair naturally or either? Anyway, it's hereditary at home. Both my father and my my mother's side, they had bald. My grandfather's had bald hair. Now with me, it's such a bad patch because it started behind and I had such a fluffy hair when I was, as much as I didn't comb it, but it was a nice hair. A person will think that maybe I was going to be a Rastafarian or will go to a Shembe church. But it was because I knew that I won't be having the hair when I'm reach a certain stage. And it's that stage.
Iminyaka ihambile.
Don't say it.
Bye-bye.
So I'm still grateful. Okay, you enjoy the rest of the day, Cathy.
All right,
Thokozani.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I'm always so surprised at what happens and what people see on campus, so thanks for that. It was a nice throwback, Thokozani. Rich, you're in Mpumalanga. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I want to speak about the artists dying poor. Cathy, it's not easy to sympathize with artists sometimes. When you see in the media they are poor and they are dying and they need assistance. Because you always see these people in the media. They are attending these cameras events, horse racing. Where do they get the amount of buying clothes in the guys? If at the end of the day they are dying, they are poor. And some of them, they do make money when they're still active, they're still young in their age. So when they die poor, it becomes difficult to sympathize with them.
Look, you know, Rich, I think that there is some honesty that we must also bring as the public to this conversation. Yes, we can say that artists get paid, a lot of money, but often this is project-based. So if you don't have that much work, then obviously you have to spread whatever you got from your last job between then and when you get a new job. But when you also read the story of artists, society has not made it easy for them to be and to live normal lives. And there are countless stories of artists who were struggling to make ends meet. They would be using public transport. And when they do that, people berate them. People make their lives and their experiences uncomfortable because they're seen on TV. And we can't pretend like that doesn't exist. So in as much as you might say that you struggle to feel sorry for the artists, but let's be honest about the society that they exist in and the pressure that society puts on them to be a particular way, to show up in a particular way, and to be the stars that they portrayed as on TV in whatever role that they might be playing at the time.
Yeah, no, I get that, Katie. I get it. Yeah, thanks for explaining. But some of them do make money on this. I don't know whether can I mention names.
Look, I don't know their bank accounts, so if you mention names.
But can I mention names?
Yeah?
Yeah, let's think about the soccer players who go and play overseas. They make a lot of money. When they come back, whatever they are earning in Europe or USA, when they come back home, that money doubles according to the exchange controls and whatever. Then when you die, you're told that you are poor like Silma Silva, or told that you was taking sold paraphernalia to remember Silva Taung.
But what's the gap between when they would have last worked and earned that money versus when they die?
But where is that money when you're earning it? Because the exchange rate now, when you play in Britain, the exchange rate is just something like 20 rand. So if you earn 1 million pounds in Britain, I think it's multiplied by 20. Yeah, I'm aware of the case, but something like multiplied by 20. Where is that money?
Okay.
You can't die for us when you're earning 20 million rand, when you come back in 100 million rand. Then 1, 2, 3, 4 years down the line, you must do it for you.
Okay, Rich, I've heard you. Yeah. Let's leave it there. Okay. Yes, it does take some prudence, but I think let's also take responsibility for the pressure that we put on artists. And it is expensive for people just to show up when they're in the public eye. That's why you have celebrities, they have to have glam teams. Why? Because if they go to an event and they're not dressed to the nines, it is going to be us, very South Africans, judging that individual, talking about, oh, did they not know where they are going? You have the fashion police on the red carpet that's going to be the first to shame them. So I'm just saying that it's a two-way story. Is it Tamaha? You're in Marble Hall. Good morning.
Peace be upon you, Cathy, and the people around the world. This is Tamaha Podile speaking from Marble Hall. I'm speaking in connection with the hair.
Yes, sir.
Let me first start to saying to Chokozani, the Most High created people with a purpose. He made a man with hair and beard so that they can look like lions, but people choose to make them look like hippopotamus. Okay.
He made Tamaha. He made them what?
To have hair and beard.
Okay.
To be like lions.
Oh, okay.
And people are choosing to make themselves look like hippopotamus.
Okay.
Yeah. Cathy.
I don't know whether... Yeah, Tamaha. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Go on, sir.
She's got the whole head and a bit of... To me, you look like a hippopotamus. Let's get into the conversation. Let's get into the conversation and leave that. Cathy, people have taken fashion serious than what nature has given to them. To have your hair naturally, it defines your divinity with the Most High. More especially with the brown people. With others, I have got the black hair. Others have got the brown reddish hair. You see, this curly hair draws the power from the Most High. I heard you saying that people used to look at a person with dreadlocks as dangerous. The dreadlocks, the ends of the naturally dreadlocks, not the street locks. They carry some dreads within. That is why they are called dreadlocks. And so when people, for religious purposes, don't want to cut their hair, they want themselves to be closer. Actually, they're drawing themselves close to nature. You see,
Okay.
and now you look at this. Prior to colonization, people didn't cut their hair. And now, when the Europeans came to Africa, they even brought those, what you call those braids to have people cutting their hair. How many of them, if you're walking actually in town, have got their hair cut? How many of them? And you look at their number and you look at our number. How many of us have made themselves hippopotamus? How many of them have got their hair? Even if some of them, a lot of them are shaving their hair.
Yeah, Tamaha, I think you must write it in a paper, ne? I think that's the only way I'm going to fully understand some of the reflections that you have shared. But thanks nonetheless for calling in to give us your own views and expressions of this topic that we've been dealing with. Okay, I'm going to take a couple of voice notes. It's going to lead us into a break, and we'll continue with your calls on the other side of this.
Good morning, Cathy. My name is Mudiri from Polokwane, talking about hair. You know, come festive seasons, we used to really take beautiful stones, put Vaseline on our hair, stretch our hair, and coming to think about it now that I wear my natural hair and it's beautiful, I ask myself, what were you doing? I guess because I grew up under apartheid era, maybe we wanted to look like these people who were oppressing us so much. But really, our natural hair is beautiful. I love my hair now. It's amazing.
Good morning, Sis Cathy and your team. This is Sakilin Tsurin from Bamhlabelinga. You know, Sis Cathy, I believe the reason why most black schools have a policy that says learners must cut their hair is because they know that doing hair is very expensive and some parents might not be able to afford it for their children given their financial difficulties. Thank you.
Good morning, Cathy. What that man saying, Tamara? He's saying God made men to look like a lions with their hair and their beard. Now they cut their hair to look like a hippopotamus. I like animals too much. So now when I look at the hippopotamus on my phones here, I see the men who like to cut their hair everywhere. Hey, Tamara, you made my day, man. Walter. And so on.
The Atlas Lions believe their plan to graduate to the final will succeed. But the Teranga Lions believe Lions from the West will undoubtedly roar and triumph. This is the semi-final clash of the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Morocco versus Senegal. This Tuesday, 26 August at 7:30 p.m. Live everywhere for everyone. Always on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
A message from the Commission for Gender Equality As we commemorate Women's Month, the CGE highlights its 2024 report, Women in the South African Economy. The findings show that despite economic programs and initiatives, women remain excluded or underrepresented in labor markets, land ownership, finance, asset acquisition, paid care work, and rural economic decisions. The CGE continues to monitor, promote, and research gender equality with the goal of influencing policy and reforms that advance women's economic empowerment and transformation.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation.
All right, you're listening to The Talking Point. It is your national roundtable. I'm still taking your calls on 086 000 2032, on the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. Yeah, Tamaha, I must also admit that I don't think I'll be able to look at a hippo the same again after your comments on the open line this morning. Pumzile, you're in Kabeja. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Katie.
Yes,
hello.
Pumzile, you're live on the radio.
Fuzile, not Fuzile.
Fuzile. Oh, apologies for that. I think, apologies for that.
Katie, I have been phoning stations, I don't know how many times. In any case, my problem is I'm a so-called veteran. Now, I've been applying to devote to the Department of Military. No response, no nothing.
You've been applying to which department?
For the Department of Military Veterans.
Okay, so to basically the what's the
for the house?
Okay.
To upgrade my house. I never had any answer from them. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Now, I don't know whether we can help me on that score. I don't know what's going with DMV.
Yeah, look, and this of course is a separate department. Yes, what happens is that they now fall under the defense portfolio, but because they're two deputy ministers, you have.
So sorry, your voice is too low. I can't hear.
Are you unable to hear me?
Pardon?
Okay, Fuzile, I'm going to advise you to listen on the radio. Okay. Okay. Yeah, because there seems to be a difficulty with that line to Fuzile. So this will be an important issue to follow up on, to get a sense of where things are in as far as the provision and the delivery of housing to military veterans is concerned. So Fuzile, we've noted your concern and we absolutely will take it up with the SANDF and that department, the department in particular of military veterans. So yeah, we'll take that issue up, Fuzile. Sihle, good morning. All right, looks like we've just lost Sihle on the line. JCK, good morning.
Hater, hater.
Yes, sir.
Saskatchewan government has ran out of ideas. And I would like to sound like a broken record. Not everything under apartheid was evil in capital letter. During those times, we had law and order. But today, we are led with people who are not visionaries. But tell me, how can you cut the budget of subs and judiciary? Hence, you see people are killed like flies daily. People are shot at outside the magistrate court. Where are you taking us? People are shot outside the police station. Where are you taking us as government? Can't you sit down and see what is wrong? They have to amend the ANC had about 3/3 or whatever you call it to change everything, but they didn't change. And so they see that the people are dying like flies. The money that was used for national dialogue, that money was supposed to be used to pump money into what you call, into subs and judiciary and PA. You know, So they're just wasting that money. We are dying. No one is safe. Even when now you are not safe, if you get out there, or people can come there to the studio. I'm on government. If they've run out of ideas, it's time they throw in the towel. Let other people run the government. Let me rest my case for now. JCK, Kaunda from Sela.
Okay, JCK, yeah, an important issue. What to do with the high levels of crime? And I heard the conversation on the morning brief this morning with John in Fortulas, because they were specifically wanting to look at whether South Africa is a safe place for women, right? And there were a few callers and listeners who responded by saying it should be looked at more broadly instead of it just being, is it safe for women? Is it safe for anyone? And the reality is that South Africa today is not safe for a lot of people, men and women alike. Sihle, good morning. I understand you're back on the line.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, how are you?
Yes.
Hey, I was just I wanted to comment about the hair, but the previous speaker has just changed the topic I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I was going to comment about the hair. There's others like me who have impanda. So, when you have impanda and you let your hair grow, when your impanda stays there and people start commenting on your impanda, and then you have to think about cutting your hair and look like a hippopotamus like the other speaker has said. Like you do not like to look like a hippopotamus, but somehow you are forced in the chat. Like in impanda, everybody commenting, you have your beard, you have your banban, you feel nice. I even forget what I have it, but then somehow, how Baba, even my sons, how Baba, they even pay for me to go get cut, look like a hippopotamus.
Do they say it's embarrassing? Is it embarrassing for them to be seen out in public with you?
I wouldn't say like embarrassing, maybe. I don't take it like, I don't know. Maybe, but they would just like that. Like last time I had to attend graduation and like how Baba in jail. I Baba was so good. So yeah, sometimes you do have to do it like hippopotamus, but yeah. Commenting also about the hair with the ladies.
See, just try and move your phone. I don't know why, but I lost the connection with you. So yes,
can you hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh yes. No, not just talking about the hair and natural hair, especially with the ladies. I was disappointed at one time when I commented of a lady. She looked so nice with her hair, and they were nice hair, and she said, I'm going to wear a weave or something like that. And I felt bad, she feels beautiful after wearing a weave, and her hair, I don't know, wouldn't judge her, but if we can re-educate ourselves into loving ourselves. I remember my mother, when growing up, she would also comment about people bleaching their skins. They used, I may even use brand names, or cream at that time. Ladies would wear, I would use brand names. So, yes, but now living your skin as natural as it is God given, not to mention the food we eat, also what it does. To go back to the subject of the hair, if we could re-educate ourselves, these hairs, weaves, we have to buy hair before it. I don't know the psyche behind that. But indeed, this was just a comment about the hippopotamus part, that sometimes you have to be like a hippopotamus with impanda. Like I cut my hair 2 weeks ago, impanda is starting to show, and people are looking
and society and society does judge those processes, which is why we've got a lot of clinics that address hair growth issues. Lebo's laughing. Lebo, my producer, is laughing. He turned 50 this year. I've never seen an ounce of hair on his head. I don't think it still grows anymore.
Your call has been placed on hold.
He might be facing his own stadium issues. I guess that's what they call. it. They call it stadium. So impandla is just when you're balding, right? That's an accurate description. But balding in the middle of your head, nah? Not just anywhere. It's balding in the middle of your head. Yeah, and Sitle, on the wigs, they're part of life. Nothing wrong. You're just giving yourself a break. So women's hair politics, leave it to the women to figure it out. I'm going to leave it there on that note. It's 10 o'clock, time for the latest news update.
In our top stories, the Cancer Alliance demands a list of treated patients and accused court bid to have charges dropped in Mahiwa case. Good morning. The Cancer Alliance is demanding that the Gauteng Health Department release a list of names of patients treated. This after the department said it had cleared the cancer treatment backlog. The demand follows the ruling of the High Court in Johannesburg in favour of the Alliance in March after an urgent application. The judge had declared that the department's failure to develop and implement a plan to address the oncology backlog was unlawful and unconstitutional. Salome Meyer is the director of the Alliance.
What we do want to know and why we are insisting on the backlog list that has to be updated is that you cannot just write 3,000 patients off and glibly say to us, yes, we have cleared the backlog list. We want to see the evidence. We want to know who are those people, who are the people who possibly have not been treated as yet, because we do know of people that have not yet had their treatment.
Arguments in the application to drop charges against one of the accused in the Senzo Mahiwa murder trial are expected to continue in the High Court in Pretoria this morning. Mthokoziseni Mapisa is the only one applying to have his charges dropped. His co-accused have abandoned the process. Yesterday, the Defence Counsel Zitulele Nxumalo said the key state witness, Constable Sizwe Zungu, who placed all accused in a hostel in Vosloorus on the evening of the murder, had provided hearsay evidence. He says there is no evidence to link Mapisa to the conspiracy to murder Mahiwa.
Zungu's evidence, it must be noted, my lord, that it does not detail a plan by the accused to execute the assassination of the deceased. It does not place the accused together or even himself, Zungu, that he overheard such a plan. Zungu's evidence does not reveal any prior agreement amongst the accused, including accused number 4, to kill the deceased. There is absolutely no evidence, my lord, that accused number 4 was present at the scene of crime where the violence was being perpetrated, either circumstantial or direct.
Eastern Cape authorities have launched the province's Skills Development Program for gender-based violence survivors. The launch took place in Karigan, the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro yesterday. The aim of the initiative is to empower gender-based violence survivors with skills to help them rebuild their lives. Cathy Mohlahlana is the director of a company that upskills women.
Going to train them on a 3-month SETA accredited sewing training where they will learn how to make 8 garments and costing, most importantly costing as well. And then after that, they're also going to have a 5 days digital literacy program, because we believe that we need to also empower them to know how to do quotations, to also know how to prepare their own business plans as well.
The City of Johannesburg and the Metro Police Department are conducting a sting operation in Rosebank. The aim of the operation is to enforce the National Road Traffic Act. Enforcement would ensure that cars operating on the city's roads are roadworthy and adhere to the country's safety standards. The city's member of the Mayoral Committee for Safety, Mgini Chwaku.
We are enforcing the National Road Traffic Act. You must have disc and car must be roadworthy, and also you must not drive on the yellow line. So by impounding these cars, by the way, because of non-compliance whatsoever. Even worse now, driving on the yellow lane, which is actually what was most one of our forecasts as well. Just warning whoever is driving in the morning. So JMPD is there impounding cars now. So don't drive on the yellow lane, because we got also undercover cars, which are actually there.
And finally, the courts in the United States have again intervened to stop the deportation of Kilma Abrego Garcia. The Trump administration had wrongly sent him to a notorious prison in El Salvador earlier this year. On Monday, immigration officials detained him, saying they intended to deport him to Uganda. Simon Sandoval Mashingberg is one of his lawyers.
This is an unprecedented move and a significant escalation of his attacks on the independence of the U.S. Central Bank. No comment from the Fed yet, but this move really pushes the Federal Reserve, the American Central Bank, into uncharted territory. Trump's firing will likely trigger a legal showdown that could wind up at the Supreme Court.
Recapping the top story, the Cancer Alliance is demanding that the Gauteng Health Department release a list of names of patients treated. This after the department said it had cleared the cancer treatment backlog. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
Amakosi have a different strategy. They want to collect maximum points in the early days of the season. While reigning champions Masandawana want to sing their happy song, Double Yellow. This is the Betway Premiership. Catch Mzansi's Clash of Giants, Kaizer Chiefs versus Mamelodi Sundowns, this Wednesday, 27 August at 6:30 p.m. live on SABC3 and SABC Plus. Then on SABC radio stations at 7:30. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Bafana will host Nigeria in a FIFA 2026 World Cup qualifier at the Toyota Stadium on Tuesday, 9 September at 6 p.m. Tickets are now available nationwide and online from 70 Rand for adults and 40 Rand for children at all Ticket Pro outlets, including Spar, Postnet, and all petrol stations. Get your tickets early to avoid disappointment. Come in Bafana supporter gear, ready to sing for a win. Gates will open at 3 p.m. If you are not in Bloemfontein, catch the game on SABC2. For more information, visit safa.net and at Bafana on all social media channels.
This Women's Month, SAFM stands with the women shaping South Africa's future. Under the theme, Building Resilient Economies for All, we honor the pioneers, the problem solvers, and the everyday heroes driving change. Stay tuned as SAFM brings you powerful stories and meaningful conversations that move us. SAFM, celebrating women, celebrating progress. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
It's 8 after 10 o'clock. Welcome to the second hour of the Talking Point. Coming up in this hour, we'll be talking finance with Brian Hirsch, but we'll be dealing with your questions of the month as this is the final Tuesday of the month. Before we get into it, lots of different WhatsApp voice notes, especially on the issue of hair. So we clearly touched a hair studio this morning. We'll play some of those voice notes and then get into our session with Brian.
Good morning, Cathy. Vuyelwa from Cape Town here. I wear my hair natural, but occasionally I will wear different wigs. I just like to have a different look. So even though I have my natural hair, which I wear with pride, I also like a different look. Have a good day.
Good morning, Cathy and your team. My son had medium, beautiful dreads, and sometimes he used to plait them, but he was forced to cut them at his workplace. So it's not only the schools, even the workplaces.
Good morning, Kathy and SAFM listeners. Tell me what's going on in Cape Town, Kathy. I'm not a groupie, but unfortunately I have to join in on this one. again Googled the hippo, and I think the gentleman is correct. I'm glad I keep my hair. Have a good day. Bye.
Good morning, House Cathy, and your listeners. House Cathy, I don't understand why, as black men, why don't we wear our mpandla with pride? Why do we judge each other's mpandla? Mpandla is just a natural thing. But being black and mpandla, it's like you've been bewitched, especially at a young age. I'm like at my early 30s, but I have mpandla. So it feels like I'm still young to be having mpandla. I don't understand. Why don't we just wear our mpandla with pride, actually? Like other races do. They wear their mpandlas with pride out there.
Good morning, Sis Katie. I think I would only plea with government. Please ban this imported hair. How could you wear the hair of another person, Bagiti? Please make this voice be heard by South Africans. This is not good. Please let the government constitute the banning. Let's ban this thing. It's not good. It's not healthy to wear the hair of another person. We are very beautiful as Africans. We should accept ourselves. Please. This is Tawal.
Hi, Susketi, the beautiful morning. Susketi, look, on the issue of hair, just a quick one is that I think that's a correct go because many children are being bullied using that their hairstyle and all that thing. Those who can afford and all that. And I have seen schools that are strict on that, and then the schools are moving smoothly. So I support that one. The other one is, I'll ask you to look at the countries that are highly ranked terrorist countries. And I want you to go back and look on BRICS countries and check how many countries they are involved in those kind of matters where they are internationally recognized as terrorist funding sort of countries. And you'll see where we stand as a nation. Thank you.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
Mzansi, get ready to Panda Pusha Play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 76 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Tuesday. That's right, play Powerball for an estimated 31 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 45 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial a *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda Pusha Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Hashtag SAFM Talking Point. Talking finance with Brian Hirsch, making sense of your finance.
All right, Brian Hirsch is sitting across from me in the studio.
And I can see you got a naughty smile. You got a naughty smile.
Because, Brian, today, after our opening clip, the conversation on the open line just steered towards hair. And there was a voice note and there was a call about men and balding heads, right? And the voice note, the listener on the voice note said, men must wear their mpandlas with pride. They must wear their bald heads with pride and not want to chop it off. So the first thing I noticed about you this morning.
Good morning, listeners. Good morning, listeners. Is what?
Is the fact that you wear your mpandla your pandla with pride.
Do I?
Yes.
Look, no man likes to go bald. We all like to have hair, but we got to live. We live with what we've got, and and we look in the mirror and we look fine, And so would I like to have more hair? Love to have more hair, but I'm happy the way I look.
Have you ever thought about chopping it off? Speak to me about why you don't.
Chopping it off.
Yeah, because maybe like you get teased about the fact that it's balding and it's not a head full of hair, because that's what the experiences of men are. That they basically, in some ways, bullied by society to cut it off because it's not a full head of hair.
No, not at all. But I can tell you can just tell how hard my brain works, because my brain sweats all the time from all the hard work, and that sweat gets rid of hair. When you think of hookers, you never see hookers in a rugby scrum with any hair. I never know why they're all bald at 25, but they are. Should we move on to finance?
Absolutely. Thanks for indulging me, Brian, with a bit of the hair politics today. Okay, so it's the last Tuesday of the month, and we, of course, are going to be dealing with some of the questions you've had to deal with throughout the month, Brian. It's quite a long list, but I think it's also mostly points of clarity that people want. Remember... A message on the WhatsApp voice note just came in. It says, Cathy, don't be naughty to Brian. A man without a mpandla is not a man. A man who's not bald. A man who's not bald.
Well, thank you for that support. It's very kind of you. Thank you.
Remember, we'll be taking your questions for Brian throughout the show. At the number to dial 086 000 2032. You can ask any question that relates to finances, absolutely that doesn't relate to hair, on the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. That's where you can send your WhatsApp voice notes and text messages. So, Brian, we'll start with government retail bonds and the interest rates.
Yeah.
On those retail bonds.
As you know, I've recommended government retail bonds for many years now. The 5-year government retail bond is come down, but it's still paying 9.25%. And if interest rates come down, then I still think it's a good 5-year investment, particularly for those who aren't paying any tax. Because remember, it's never the gross rate that you get, it's what the net rate is after tax. But the question asked of me is, once you've committed to a government bond, and you've committed to the investment for 5 years, and then you decide you need income, can you approach the retail bond operation and ask them to convert and allow you to draw income? The answer is yes, you can. We were involved with one particular client who we helped, and they are now drawing interest. So if you've committed to a 5-year retail bond, even a 1 or 2 or 3 years, but you didn't think you needed interest, and now you need income, you can do it. So that was the answer. I had 3 or 4 questions on that in the last month.
Does it have any complications in terms of the process of doing it?
Yeah, look, everything today is paperwork. I mean, compliance, providing all the information, it's laborious. And I can tell you, I'm finding it laborious at the moment, the amount of paperwork that's required in our industry. I mean, just to give you an example, we've now got a new situation which is called transaction. Anyone who transacts and asks for us to withdraw money, we have to ask them, what is the money for? Obviously, you can say it's for living expenses. That's fine. But if you say it's to give to our children, we then have to explain to you the implications of giving a loan to a child or giving a donation to your child. So compliance has become absolutely extreme. And everything we do in terms of making investments, getting information, does take a bit of work. But you've got to do it.
So at which point does money given from a parent guardian to a child... is that considered a loan? Is it once you've reached the threshold of donations?
Yeah, the threshold is 100,000. You're allowed to give donations, not to 8 per child. You're allowed 100,000 rands worth of donations in a particular year. Anything above that will attract donations tax of 20%. But if you give it to a loan to the child, it's a very different story. But if you give it to a loan to a child who's then, or an adult who's going to then invest it, then there's a problem, because that investment is going to provide income and there could be some trade-off. But if you're giving a loan to a kid, then at least you know in terms of your will you need to adjust it and deal with it in that particular way, particularly if it's a loan on a never basis. But we in the financial world have to ask our clients, what is the money for? And many of the withdrawals are people who are short of money, or they're going on a holiday or something like that. But the minute there are tax implications, it's incumbent on your financial advisor to get more information and provide you with all the differences and why you're doing it.
All right, Brian, thanks for that. Let me give you a second there to recover. The next question that we're going to deal with is around policies and having cash values in a policy. This particular individual says that they've been advised to cash the policy in, take the cash and buy a new life policy. Let's talk about that experience, pros and cons.
Okay, let's go back some years. Some years companies were selling policies that had cash values. How did the cash value arose? You weren't just buying life cover, you were paying more, which was going to provide a cash value, which would then provide a surrender value. So a lot of people are now looking now, you were not only just buying life cover, you were buying life cover with some cash in the policy. The latest trend is to buy life cover for what it is. Buy life cover, no savings, purely buying life cover. Your premium patterns are different. You can buy life cover with on an age-rated basis. You can buy life cover on an automatic 5% increase every year, or you can buy life cover which is very much linked to the pool of policies that company has, which they could then increase those premiums as and when that period, what they call the expiry period, comes due. Now, yes, if you're going to cash in a policy, understand the following. Never cash in a policy of life insurance until you've been accepted by another company, because it's not money that buys insurance, it's your health that buys it. So if you're going to cash in a policy, get the policy in place first. So let's assume you've got R1 million policy with a cash value of 62,000. I'm just using these numbers randomly. And you're now going to buy a new policy with a new company, R1 million, but you're going to maybe save a little bit on the premium because there's no saving, and you're going to take the 62,000. It's an option. But understand the premium patterns of your old policy versus the new policy, because don't just compare the premium day one. I'm giving up a policy I'm paying R1,000 for, and I'm now going to pay 800. Understand how does that 800 escalate in the year's time, because as you get a lot older, and hopefully when people get into their late 60s, 70s, then it's nice to have a life policy, but it's not a need to have. As you're a young person growing up, you do need cover. You need to protect your family against debt, education, living expenses. But as you get older and you get into retirement, you've got a home paid for, no debt, got a good healthcare program, it's sometimes difficult to give up a life policy because you've paid all these years and you've lived. Well, that's an advantage. People say to me, I've paid and paid and paid, and I've never claimed. Well, you don't want to claim for disability or death. So it's an option, but understand the premium pattern and what happens in the years to come. It may look cheaper in the early stages, but a lot more expensive in the later stages. But make sure you get the cover in place before you give up a policy.
Thanks for that, Brian. The next question, can you please give some pointers on why one should incorporate or would incorporate a trust into an estate plan?
Well, you need to understand the reasons for a trust. There's the main reasons for a trust of one, you want to safeguard the inheritance for minor children. Minor children under the age of 18, and that's the minimum age they can inherit. Most parents don't want children to inherit a lot of money at age 18 and see them driving around in Porsches and Ferraris. They want the children to be educated first, become more responsible. So it's the safeguarding the inheritance of minor children. The second reason is protecting personal assets from business risk. A lot of people go into business, you ask to sign surety. That means you're putting all your personal assets at risk. So if you've got money in the trust, maybe the person lending you the money is going to insist on the trust also providing security, but that's the second reason, protecting personal. The third, which is important but not as serious as the first two is pegging your estate duty. Remember, in South Africa, up to 30 million, first let me say, husband leaves assets to wife, wife leaves assets to husband. There are no death duties or what internationally is called inheritance taxes. You peg, you protect your estate, but all you're doing is deferring, because on the death of the second spouse, that individual will then pick up the estate duty for the family. Each person gets 3.5 million free of death duties. So if your assets as a family are below 7 million, you'll be protected. But remember, with the years to come and inflation, 7.5 million, that sounds a lot today, may be little in 10 or 15 years' time. So as your estate increases, if you have assets in a trust, you're what's called pegging your estate. So say with someone who puts R1 million into a trust today, and it's not the only reason, I'm making the point, it's not the only reason for having a trust. The first two, protection and safeguarding assets, is more important. But you put R1 million and 20 years later, that million is worth 5 million. In the trust, the amount owing to your estate is only 1 million, so you won't pay any death duties. The balance of 4 million is housed in the trust and it's free of death duties. And then also caring for beneficiaries with disabilities. If you've got beneficiaries who've got some sort of comorbidities or disability, a trust is an ideal vehicle to be used. And then what about succession planning for future assets, for future families? So it's a planning tool as well. So understand, I'm not in any way recommending trusts. I'm just sharing with you why people would have a trust, and the two types of trust. The first is what's called an inter vivos trust, is a trust that you form during your lifetime and put your assets into the trust. You need financial, you need accounting and legal advice. Please bear that in mind. The second is what we call a testamentary trust, where you do it in your will, where you leave assets to minor children and you say, until age 25, the assets must be managed on behalf of my children. Yes, if they need income for education and all things, you've got to appoint trustees, but I'm not going into all that. I'm just giving why you would incorporate a trust into a estate plan.
Brian, this is often the contentious one, and it's around nomination of beneficiaries under pension funds, and why it is that oh, you guys are so silly. Sorry, Brian, I got distracted by a message that just came in. A listener wants to know, how much must he budget for his hair? Like, don't worry, our listeners can't be serious. Today is not one of those days that they're taking seriously.
Sorry, Cathy. In your budget, women and men, particularly women, do need to have a beauty budget, and a beauty budget is hair and other makeup. It is part of your budget. So it may sound frivolous, but it's true. When you're doing your budget, don't forget that. I mean, your nails, all the things that go for beautifying women who want to look good. Women wants to look good, so that must be in your budget. But let's carry on.
But the point is that we don't want to disclose how much we spend on these things, because if we have to see it, it might lead to maybe some views that it is reckless spending.
Unnecessary. It's not unnecessary. I have a budget for. And the very first item, particularly when I do divorce mediation, and I'm looking at the wife's budget versus the husband, the very first item is beauty products. Because a woman wants to look good, Cathy. You look great this morning. You always look good. So women want to look good. Is anyone else smiling there?
Yes, Kanya is smiling behind the glass window. She's supporting everything you're saying.
So I understand that. So it is an item, but we're not going to talk about budgets today.
Okay. So it's about the nomination of beneficiaries and why people can't just nominate anyone.
Okay. The provision of the Act, which is 37C, provides that dependents have to be cared for from monies from pension funds. Let me backtrack. If you have a life policy, you can appoint whoever you like. I had a situation where some guy many years ago appointed a girlfriend. My problem was when he died and the monies were paid out, his wife wanted to know why this particular woman got money, why he'd nominated her, although his relationship with this woman, probably was so old, had ended maybe 30 or 40 years before. But you can appoint who you like in terms of a life policy. When it comes to pension funds, and let me make this clear, everyone should check every year on your pension fund who is the beneficiary, because even though you may want to appoint anyone, you can't. There are trustees, and in terms of Section 37C, the provision overrides the will and governs who the funds must go to, even if they are not named as beneficiary. The pension fund has 12 months to identify who are beneficiaries. There was a recent case. It was one of the municipalities where a woman died, husband died, left money to his wife and 3 children. Out of the blue came a previous wife who had divorced, who had 2 children, not from the husband, but by a different man. But he had been paying some maintenance for some reason, one obviously didn't know, for this woman and the 2 children. She made a claim. Her claim was refuted. It was fought in the courts, and she then was nominated a beneficiary of the pension funds. So you need to understand, it's not like a life policy where you can appoint a beneficiary. The trustees are responsible for finding all dependents, however little or however much they are, and then working out the percentage. So to anyone who's a member of a pension fund, please check who your beneficiaries are with your your personnel department. Sorry, I stumbled there. Yeah, the personnel department.
Okay.
And get details.
Yeah. Okay. So that's with regard to the pension fund. We're going to continue the conversation with Brian. Brian, I've got a couple of questions for you on this issue. And of course, I'll also be taking your calls. For now, it's 10:30. Here are your headlines.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the case of Vuzimuzi Cathy Mohlahlana, his wife and 3 others has been postponed to the 7th of October in the Alexandra Magistrates Court. The prosecution says the 5th person was recently charged with money laundering. The Cancer Alliance is demanding that the Gauteng Health Department release a list of names of patients treated. This after the department said it had cleared the cancer treatment backlog. And the courts in the United States have again intervened to stop the deportation of Kilma Abrego Garcia. The Trump administration had wrongly sent him to a notorious prison in El Salvador earlier this year. Details on these and other stories at 11.
Taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand is currently trading at 17 rand 66 to the dollar, 23 rand 75 to the pound, and 20 rand 52 to the euro. Markets in Asia extended losses at the closing bell. The JSE's mainly weekend mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are trading lower this hour. Gold is trading at $3,377. Platinum, $1,337 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $68.23 a barrel.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Well, what about the struggles that you experienced, the 3 of you? I mean, tell us what happened firstly.
We were approached by somebody from the right, a guy, I hear now Ian Cameron says that it was a City of Cape Town employee. I didn't see, I was looking at my phone at the time. He said to us, he asked us to wind down a window, and Ian did that, and he warned us. He said, guys, please be careful. But he was a friendly guy and, clearly knows the area. And as we proceeded to go over the intersection, we kind of hit a little bit of traffic. And the next thing, Lisa said that, something doesn't feel right. Why would this guy warn us? And then the next thing, they smashed Ian's window with a brick. And I realized at that moment that we were being attacked.
Nicholas Gottsel is the DA MP in the Western Cape.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM. Find the podcast at safm.co.za. Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out, because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday the 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday. Talking Finance with Brian Hirsch, making sense of your finance.
All right, we continue the conversation with Brian Hirsch. Brian, we were talking about the nominations of beneficiaries under pension funds and life policies, and you gave the example of somebody who had nominated, I think, an ex-girlfriend. And was it under the pension fund?
No, it was under a life policy.
Oh, under life policy.
Not under. Now, if you did, let's say you're a single person and you nominated a girlfriend under your pension fund, the trustees would try and find out and investigate whether there were any beneficiaries. If there were no beneficiaries who were dependent financially on the deceased, they would then pay it to the girlfriend. Under a life policy, is no investigation because the beneficiary under a life policy overrides the will. So even in your will, if you'd said, I've left my money to you, Cathy, in my will, but in the policy I've left it to someone else, on the life policy, it'll go to that person. The insurance company do not look under a life policy for anyone else other than the nominated beneficiary.
So under life policy, staying with the example, you wouldn't be able to dispute the fact that this girlfriend should receive the allowance. Would you be able to do that under pension fund?
Yes.
If the person came forward and was able to prove that indeed, if the person came forward and was able to prove that indeed they had been receiving some kind of monies, upkeep allowance from this individual, would they be considered?
Yeah, they would then be a dependent under the pension fund.
All right, let me give you a chance to recover there. Let me give you a chance to recover there, Brian, because I see somebody on the WhatsApp line also wants clarity on this issue. They ask, so if my husband is my elected beneficiary of the pension fund, does this mean that isn't he the only one entitled to it? And what happens then when he dies?
Okay, so your husband is the sole beneficiary and dependent. Are there any other dependents, any other children dependents, whether they be adults or not? And if they're adult, is there any money going to help them in supporting them in any way? Is there an ex-wife? Are there any other children elsewhere that may be supported? If the answer is no, your husband will then be, you will be the beneficiary under your retirement fund. And depending the type of pension you bought on his death, because on his death you would not only receive the life cover, but there would be a pension, you would then determine who's this money going to come to. If it's a commercial pension, you would then probably buy either a fixed pension or a living annuity. Fixed pension means I fix my pension, but I have no access to the capital, and on my death, after a guaranteed period, let's assume you fixed your pension for 10 years and you lived for 15 years, they will pay you for 15 years. If you die after 6 years, you've still got 4 of that 10 year that have not been paid. They will go to your nominated beneficiaries. Under a life annuity, the money would go and anything left would then go to your nominated beneficiaries. And when you have a living annuity or fixed annuity, the beneficiary falls away about dependency. It's purely a nomination. It then moves out of the pension fund into a separate entity, and you can nominate who you like.
So, because I think the wife here is asking this based on her pension fund. So at this point, obviously, if they're paying out, etc., she's gone. So she's asking if the husband is the only beneficiary and he dies, then what happens to that money?
If it's a part of the government pension fund and you haven't elected, you've elected to receive less, then you could make sure that pension, under a government pension fund after 5 years, if there are no other dependents, so if you die and your husband receives the pension and he lives for 4 years, maybe there's a 5th year under the pension fund or maybe nothing, but once that period expires, there's no more payment. During your lifetime, you can have you can have children as beneficiaries under your pension funds.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that clarity, Brian. The other question that we've had to deal with was around South African markets hitting new highs, and what your suggestions are. Is it better to invest offshore than to invest in South Africa?
Okay, so let me tell you that at this point in time, many commentators are feeling very positive about investing in South Africa. Things are looking a lot better. Economically, things are not a lot better at all. People still unemployment rate is high. Nothing has happened in South Africa to make us feel, yes, we may be feeling a bit more positive because interest rates are coming down. Companies are maybe doing better. Yes, I'm a firm believer about in the long term, I want to be invested in first world industries such as telecommunications, internet, AI, healthcare relating to, for example, I'm not any longer just talking about the companies that produce the drugs and after a period of time their period runs out in terms of the protection. But I'm talking about, today everything's been done so much more by surgical is being done by technology, and the parts and knees and elbows and tips and all that, everything is now, and then the diet drugs in America. So I'm saying, where can I invest best long term? We're not talking about the next 6 or 12 months. I'm saying, where can you invest long term in these industries? And I think that the place to be is internationally. I also think two other reasons. One is because we don't have a lot of money in South Africa, although there's an expression that sells, if you sell to kings, you live like a pauper. And if you sell, and I don't like to use the word pauper, but if you sell to low-income people, they've got the money. But where are they spending? They don't have money. If you look at the two-pot system, it's exactly an example of where people don't have money. They're drawing. And furthermore, our budgets are stressed. Interest rates are too high. I don't know why. There was a question that I was going to deal with, and I'll just deal with briefly. Interest rates in South Africa are far too high. I mean, inflation is around about the 3% mark. We had inflation targets 3 to 6%. We're not even in the midterm of that. There is, and I understand, the Reserve Bank attempts to control interest rate to keep inflation rates down. And after inflation, we had enormous increases. And although the high rate is great for savers, it certainly does not help for people who are financing home and motor vehicles. And the Reserve Bank is always concerned about inflation. We've now had indications that America interest rates may drop in September. I think our rates have to be a lot lower. That'll help enormously of people, and most working people have debt, a bond and motor car finance. But the Reserve Bank's moving too slowly. So coming back to the comment you made, do I think it's a good time to take money offshore? I do. I think at 1750, 1760, I think it's a great time. Do I think it's good time to invest in markets? No. I don't think it's time to get out of markets, because markets have their phases and markets have run, they're expensive. And for people who are in markets with long-term time horizon, stay invested if that's your strategy. But people going in, start to get money out of the country and start gradually to start investing. Let's wait for some correction. I'm sure there will be some correction in the next 2 to 3 months. We'll see markets lower, and that's the time to start dribbling money into the markets.
Speaking about interest rates, I saw in Botswana just this past week, they were announcing their interest rate decisions, and rates remained unchanged at 1.90%.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it, I thought, we can only dream, hey?
Well, think about it. We're paying the repo rate 7, the prime rate's 10.5. So just think about now the question of if interest rates were 1 or 2% lower, people would be saving on a 500,000 Rand bond. At 1%, they'd be saving something like another, at 500,000, they'd be saving another 500 to 700, and 1,000,000 to 1,400. So much more you can invest.
It makes a big difference.
And companies borrow money. They don't want to borrow at these high levels and do things. So we're not encouraging companies to invest in the economy because interest rates are too high.
Okay. Let me get then into our questions from our listeners. Remember, you can also dial in to speak directly to Brian. Ask him your question on the line, 086 000 2032. That's the number to dial, 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. Brian, I'm going to start with this message. It says, "Good morning, Cathy. How should I approach my financial commitments after losing my job? I am overwhelmed. Thank you."
Yeah, I had to breathe in there because that's such a difficult one.
Yeah.
When you say losing your job, where you're retrenched, well, let me say this to you. The first thing you need to do is, if you have debt, is contact the companies and talk to them in terms of how you can get through this. Don't just pretend it hasn't happened. It'll catch up with you. Talk to anyone you owe money. Tell them you've lost your job. You're looking for another job. You may need to have a moratorium for a period of time while you're looking. Keep them informed. Don't just go there today and leave it in 3 months' time. Spend more time communicating with them where you are. Tell them I've been for an interview. I know this sounds ridiculous, but the more you communicate with creditors, the better it will be for you. That's the first thing you do. The second thing you've got to do is have a look very carefully at where you're spending money and where you can cut back. If you're a breadwinner, then I don't suggest you start cutting back on life insurance, but you need to think about it. You need to think about if you've got car payments. You need to think about the bills of life. You need to do a very, very dramatic budget, and the budget's got to be assessed. So other than that, there's very little. Did they retrench you? Did they give you some money up front? In terms of retrenchment, 1 week for every year, but that's quite flat. I think, if you're going to be, I always tell people who're in the affordable, give people at least 2 weeks every year. You may have had leave pay. You've got to be very careful with your money. You've got to see what you've got. And most important thing is talk to people you owe money to. Yes, you're going to set aside for living expenses. You may need to talk to your family and your children, let them know, whoever you may be. Maybe if you're a married woman or married man, depending on the circumstances, discuss it with your husband. Don't just leave it. It's not going to go away. It's right. And then you've got to get out there looking for a job immediately, however depressed you may be. Nothing worse than that.
Yeah, look, I completely empathize with our listener as well. And again, we can't run away from what the statistics tell us about how the majority of people in the middle class are one paycheck away, from being right back where they started. And that's the reality of the life that we're living in this country. So most people that find themselves unemployed just don't have that buffer either that will carry them through.
There's an index in America that talks the greatest things the greatest stress you can have. The first is loss of a child. The second is loss of a job and having to now replace and particularly if you have to move. A lot of people who lose their job somehow manage, keep their home, keep their cars, the children stay at school. But the second is when you have to move your family away from where your children are used to life, where you've got to move to a smaller home, new schools and everything. That is the second most, on the index, the second most stressful aspect.
All right, let me bring in some of the voice notes and then I'll also go to the phone lines.
Good morning, Cathy. Good morning, Brian. Just a quick one. When withdrawing from GEPF and to an external fund, whilst the funds are with the external fund and still waiting for tax directive, does it earn interest or is it just there? Like in my case, it's been with the fund for about a month. Is it earning any interest or I shouldn't expect any? Thank you.
It's a solid question because if they've disinvested, understanding that the money is going to be moved, it should be earning interest. If it stays in the fund and it's invested, then maybe you've got the danger within that fund of markets being up or down in that period. I don't know the answer. and I certainly will make inquiries this next week. What happens when money's been transferred? As you're aware, when you're transferring from GEPF, the Government Employee Pension Fund, to a different fund, there is no tax consequences. It's done without any tax consequences, other than if you're going to draw money, then you only get the first 550,000 tax-free, and there's a scale of anything above that. But I'll certainly, that's an excellent question. I don't know the answer. I hope to get answer from GEPF. I see, as a matter of fact, there's a new appointment of a CEO in this morning's Business Times, but to get information out of the GEPF is so difficult, but I'll do my very best and I'll respond next week.
Okay, let's take the second voice note.
Good morning, Brian and SFM listeners. Brian, I'm not sure maybe this question can fall under your portfolio or no, but we're just seeking advice. Where must we present our case? Because UIF is refusing to process foreign nationals' unemployment claims, saying that your work permit has expired. Our work permits expired. But this is our money we contributed, and the companies we were working contributed. This is not money coming from the government coffers. So where must we present our case so that we can recoup our money? Thanks.
It's not part of my portfolio, and I did mention last week that I think you should have a program with someone from UIF and keep that question for when you eventually have that program, Cathy.
Okay. We'll take a quick break, and then I'm back with your calls on the phone line and your text messages.
This week on Off-Pitch Goals, Sonono and Sanela Khoza join us and take us through the storied success of the Zodwa Khoza Foundation. We talk legacy, community building, and youth career pathways. Tune in to SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 this Saturday, 30 August at 6:30 p.m. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Off-Pitch Goals, where we showcase how the stars score in business. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
From the brilliant buzz of Joburg to the beautiful beaches of the Eastern Cape, Fly Safair has you covered. That's right, from 1st November, we'll be flying from Lanseria Airport to both East London and PE, just in time for the holiday rush. Tickets are on sale now from only 770 Rand. So whether it's for work or play, plan your Eastern Cape escape from Lanseria or vice versa. Book now at flysafair.co.za. Fly Safair, for the love of fly. T's and C's apply.
When you're smiling, on 19th September, wear your favorite socks to school or work and help spread smiles to children across South Africa.
The sun comes shining through.
Get your Socks for Smile sticker today at smilefoundation.co.za, because every sticker helps fund life-changing surgeries for children in need. Smile Foundation. This is an SABC-supported initiative.
Talking Finance with Brian Hirsch, making sense of your finance.
All right, we continue the conversation with Brian Hirsch. Let me go to Johannesburg. Is it Sitekele? Good morning.
Good morning.
Or Sekhetele? No.
Setegele.
Please say that again, please, ma'am.
Setegele.
Setegele. All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that. What's your question for Brian, ma'am?
My question is, I have a problem with two banks that I mistakenly made a mistake and deposited money into the wrong account. And the first bank, my money was coming from Standard Bank to Capitec Bank. And this happened on the 29th of July. So when I made a recall, in 3 days, my recall answer was back. A Capitec said to me, the account doesn't exist. I said to Standard Bank, how come? Because if the account doesn't exist, I should have got my money back already. They said they don't know. So I made the second recall to Capitec. Now the Standard Bank has been charging me 310. And then after some few days, Standard Bank came to me and said, Capitec said they can't get hold of their clients. And I also reported this matter to the bank ombudsman, but I went there straight. I did a walk-in. I made an application, but until today they haven't given me the reference number. They haven't responded to my call. So I don't know, where do I take this matter from here
And
now?
who hasn't responded? The bank ombud?
Yes.
Okay. And when did you realize that the money had gone into the wrong account and you
It
put
was
in
on
that
the
recall?
On the 31st.
Okay,
And
so it
then
was
I went back to the
three days
bank on the-
after you made the initial transaction.
Yes.
Okay. Brian?
If you recall that case some years ago, a woman was paid millions of rands into her account, and she went and spent it, and she was actually charged with theft, and I think she was actually found guilty. I don't know what exactly happened in that case. Just a question for you, Tegeli. Just a question I'd like to ask you. Have Capitec acknowledged that that's a live account that the money's been invested into?
Come again?
You've transferred money from Standard Bank to Capitec.
Yes.
Now, Capitec, this money is sitting in someone's account.
Yes.
In other words, you didn't do it in terms of what people gave you the wrong account number. It was an error on your part.
No, it was an error
On your part.
side.
So I don't understand. What are Capitec saying? That you say they
Firstly,
they can't
say-
get rid of their client, get hold of their clients.
Firstly, they say the account doesn't exist.
Okay.
I made the appeal.
Okay. Yeah. And now?
And then they came to me to say that they can't get hold of their clients.
So now does it exist?
Yes, now it is.
So the money is sitting in someone else's client, in
Yes.
someone else's name.
Yes.
Well, you got to put pressure on Capitec. You got to put pressure on. Look, the banking ombudsman obviously gets a lot of complaints. There's a period of time that he's got to respond. He's then got a right to Standard Bank. He's then got a right to Capitec. It takes time, but. Have you been to Capitec? Have you been to Capitec head office?
I have been to. No, I haven't been to the head office. I went to the Capitec branch when I was still investigating. After they said the account doesn't exist, and then I asked the cashiers, the tellers, the consultants at Capitec. They said no, this is not correct, and they even told me that they know that if the number starts with 101, it's a business. If the number starts with 11 or 212, it's personal. So they don't know why this person who received the email said the account doesn't exist.
Okay.
Because I had to go to the ATM to making an ATM deposit. That's when I verified the account.
Setigeli, I don't promise any help. Will you call me this afternoon on 011? No. Call me this afternoon on 011 268.
Hold on a second. I need to write the number down.
I'll tell you what. No, I'd rather. I'm going to take you back to our producer.
Yeah.
Please, they'll take your phone number. I will call you later this afternoon. I will then see how I can make contact with Capitec Bank on your behalf. Because this is nonsense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Absolutely.
There's no fraud. So people are putting money into wrong accounts because they've been given they've had their account hacked and they got the wrong details. That case is a different issue. In your case, a genuine error and it's gone to someone's account. So I'll get your number. I'll call you later this afternoon.
Okay. Thanks for that, Sitegele. Temba, you're in Gqeberha. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Cathy, how are you?
Doing well, Temba. What's your question for Brian?
Look, my question for Brian is GPF Government Pension Fund. A member goes to pension after 20, 25 years. And unfortunately, that member passes away 3 years or 4 years. Then the spouse gets to also benefit through a pension, through that provident fund, that pension fund. But once the spouse passes away in 2 years or in 1 year, there's no more money that gets to be paid. Where is that money going to? Is this what we are going to face as other pension funds or provident funds through the rationalization of the Pension Funds Act that happened last year? Is this what we are faced with?
Okay, under the government pension fund, that's the case. However, I understand that when you elect a pension, you can actually do it slightly differently, both in the percentage the spouse gets by taking a slightly lower pension yourself, and you can maybe extend it. That's why so many people move from the government employee pension fund to a private fund where the monies are transferred. We had that one caller where she's had monies transferred and she asked the question about the time it's taking and whether there was interest to be paid. I'm going to check up on that. But that is why people move, to protect the value. But under a defined benefit fund, the actuaries have done those calculations, and that is the rules of that type of fund. So yes, as I said, after the 5-year period has expired, the spouse will receive the pension for that for the remaining period, and then if the spouse passes on, there will be nothing. The money stays in the fund and funds other people who are more fortunate and live that longer. It's what we call cross-subsidization.
Okay, Temba,
Yes,
I hope that answers your question.
It's something that needs to be spoken about often, because people lose out, families lose out, children lose out, and they are left just in desperate situations.
Yeah.
So it's something that needs to be spoken out about.
Temba,
that people can move.
Yeah, let me just stop you there. That's why anyone retiring should meet with a financial advisor in your region. Banks have financial advisors. You can phone the FBI and get financial advisors so that you can understand the implications, because you do have options, and that is moving the money. But there may be other issues that one needs to consider.
Okay, Brian, we're completely out of time. Apologies. There's some questions that we didn't get to because they started coming in late. Please, next time, just start sending them in earlier. Brian, you've got to go. Your contact details?
Okay, my radio line is 011 880 4888. Please leave all your numbers and please leave your message clearly, or you can get hold of me on www.bhca.co.za.
On that note, that's where we wrap it up with this particular segment. More coming for you on the other side of the 11 o'clock news.
I go off to see my hairdresser.
For what hair?
Thank you, Cathy. On the top stories, Vusi Cathy Mohlahlana's case postponed, and U.S. courts intervened in the deportation of Kilma Garcia. For SAFM News, I am Ondelambana, and a very good morning. The case of Vusi Cathy Mohlahlana, his wife and 3 others has been postponed to October the 7th in the Alexandra Magistrates Court. The prosecution says the 5th person was recently charged with money laundering. The other 4 are facing charges of attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, fraud and attempting to defeat the ends of justice. They were arrested earlier this year following a botched hit on Mohlahlana's former partner Tebugo Tobejane in October 2023. Sasha Naidu reports.
The accused made a brief appearance in the dock before their case was postponed. This was to allow the state time to centralize all the cases against the accused and to transfer the matter to the High Court in Johannesburg. Meanwhile, Mohlahlana's bail application has been postponed to the 2nd of September. Sasha Naidu, SABC News at the Alexandra Magistrates Court.
The High Court in Pretoria will not hear SAP's Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detection, Shadrake Sibiya's case today. His counsel has requested a special allocation on the matter and a full bench to preside over the case. National Police Commissioner Fani Masemula placed Sibiya on a leave of absence. Sibiya then approached the court in a bid to invalidate the move. Action against Sibiya follows KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's allegation that Sibiya is corrupt and has links to criminal syndicates. Sibiya spoke outside court.
As per regulations, as per what the Constitution dictates. So, even if you feel that maybe perhaps I could be involved in something, there are processes, there are laws to be followed. You don't just act nilly-willy.
2 men have been shot and killed and 2 others wounded at the Makassar Heights taxi rank near Khayelitsha on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson Malcolm Boyi says preliminary reports show that unknown armed man approached the taxi rank and opened fire on the victims. Boyi says the wounded people who were caught in the crossfire were taken to a nearby medical facility.
Makassar SEP subsequently registered 2 counts of murder and 2 attempted murders. Forensics experts are currently combing this crime scene for clues and evidence. The motive for the shooting is believed to be taxi conflict related. The suspects fled the scene in an unknown getaway vehicle and are yet to be arrested. We appeal to anyone with information which could lead to the arrest of the suspects to please contact Detective Captain Lukanye Magatla on 082 411 3245 or alternatively Crime Stop on 08600 10111.
The Cancer Alliance is demanding that the Gauteng Health Department release a list of names of patients treated. This after the department said that it had cleared the cancer treatment backlog. The demand follows the ruling of the High Court in Johannesburg in favour of the alliance in March after an urgent application in March. The judge had declared that the department's failure to develop and implement a plan to address the oncology backlog was unlawful and unconstitutional. Salome Meyer is the director of the alliance.
What we do want to know and why we are insisting on the backlog list that has to be updated is that you cannot just write 3,000 patients off and glibly say to us, yes, we have cleared the backlog list. We want to see the evidence. We want to know who are those people, who are the people who possibly have not been treated as yet, because we do know of people that have not yet had their treatment.
The courts in the United States have again intervened to stop the deportation of Kilmer Abrego Garcia. The Trump administration had wrongly sent him to a notorious prison in El Salvador earlier this year. On Monday, immigration officials detained Abrego Garcia, saying they intended to deport him to Uganda. Simon Sandoval Moshenberg is one of Abrego Garcia's lawyers.
The District of Maryland has entered a 2-day administrative stay of removal, which means that he cannot be removed from the United States through Wednesday. For them to insist on fighting out a deportation to Uganda shows that the real motive in this matter is not getting him out of the country, it's punishing him and keeping him locked up.
Recapping the top story, the case of Vusumuzi Cathy Mohlahlana, his wife and 3 others has been postponed to October the 7th in the Alexandra Magistrates Court. I'm on Delambana for SFM News Headlines at 11:30.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation.
This week on FC Meets, Tisetso and Bandile sit down with Mamelodi Sundowns ladies dribbling wizard Lehlohonolo Mashego. Find out about her rise to the top of women's football on the African continent and what motivates her to aim even higher. Tune in to SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 this Saturday, 30 August at 6 p.m. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus. FC Meets, football made for community by community. Rechange game. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
So you thought you were building a business? In this economy? Good luck. But day by day, somehow it grew. You became payroll, procurement, PR, and pressure valve. You kept going when the freezer didn't freeze, the bucket didn't budge, and the bank balance barely blinked. What's that saying again? What doesn't kill your business makes it stronger? Or at least it should be that. So you thought you were building a business. You weren't. It was building you. Because this isn't just what you do anymore. It's who you are. And you don't trust just anybody to protect it. Chat to your broker about Old Mutual Insure Business Insurance. Protect what built you. Old Mutual Insure Limited is a licensed FSP and non-life insurer.
SAFM celebrates its 89th birthday this month by giving listeners an exclusive opportunity to attend the prestigious Joy of Jazz taking place at the Sandton Convention Centre from the 26th to the 28th of September 2025. To stand a chance to win these sought-after tickets, simply SMS SAFM 89 followed by your name to 41391 and stay tuned to SAFM as we could be calling you. SAFM is the official media partner for the Dipala stage at the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz. Entries open from the 7th of August and close on the 31st of August 2025. Winners will be randomly selected and called from the 1st of September 2025. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. T's and C's apply.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Hi. If I remember correctly, in the old days, coloreds were classified as coloreds and other coloreds. The way that worked is if they ran a pencil through your hair, and if the pencil went straight through, then you were a colored. And if the pencil didn't run straight through, then you were classified as other coloreds. Maybe some of your other listeners can probably fill you in more about it.
Cathy, about the hair matters. I remember my grandmother on my father's side, many years back, of course, when her son's or daughter was born, the first thing she asked, and she was old already, first thing she asked was, how's her hair? And when, they came home, the mother and baby came home, the first thing the grandma did was to feel the head, touch the hair, and she was satisfied because it was soft.
Hi, this is Cathy. I did a PhD on hair and identity in South Africa among colored and black females. And I found that those colored and black females born before or during apartheid hold on to the Eurocentric ideology of hair, while those born after apartheid, for them, any hairstyle goes. It is up to them with what suits them. And the type of hairstyle that they want to wear. They do not feel that anyone can dictate this to them. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, good morning, Cathy, and to the listeners. Regarding the topic of earlier, my wife used to straighten my hair, and it always broke off when it reached a certain length. So I told her rather go natural, and she did. She did the big chop, so she started growing her hair naturally. So now she have that nicely defined curls. Back in the day, like you mentioned earlier, it was taboo that time because the other kids would make fun of you. You have a kruskop, the nappy head. But our hair is actually very spiritual to us in our African culture because it's an extension of our nervous system. That's why when you get into dangerous places, your hair is the first to warn you. That's why our hair stands up when we think we saw ghosts or stuff like that. And that's also part of your dreams, your lucid dreaming and all that type of stuff. It's your hair that helps you.
Good morning, this is Cathy. Simon Bloom. I know I have a bald spot and I wear it proudly. Sometimes I don't even shave my hair off. I just keep it there because sometimes it feels nice rubbing on that absence of hair, that spot. Yeah, it feels really nice and slippery.
Good morning once again. Yeah, maybe the subject is over, but going back to hair, also from having Impandla and looking at the mirror and also hearing what people are saying, hair needs you to look at the mirror all the time, see how am I looking, is my hair straight, things could cling to your hair, stuff like that. So mirrors are also a problem. Yeah, part of colonization, just saying, with mirrors. And so sometimes looking like a hippo, less stress, you don't have to look at the mirror that much. Just a comment. Thanks. Bye.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
You're listening to The Talking Point, 13 after 11 o'clock. Welcome to the final hour of the show. And we're going to be looking at the experiences of Black African women in particular in South Africa's newsrooms and the question around why it is that they leave. Bongekile Matupe is the Deputy Politics Editor at News 24, and she recently presented her Reuters Institute Fellowship Project at the Frontline Club in London, looking at what it means to be a Black African woman in South Africa's newsroom. She joins us this morning on The Talking Point. Bongekile, good morning to you. Thanks for coming into studio.
Thank you, Cathy, for having me and being interested to listening to what I have to say and what I produced in my research.
And I guess it's appropriate research because in many ways, and as far as you went out and interviewed women that had been in newsrooms, and perhaps some of them are no longer in newsrooms, it is an experience that you are not unfamiliar with as a young Black woman who sits as a deputy politics editor. I imagine that when you sat down with the interviewees that formed part of the project you were working on, you could probably resonate and relate with a lot of the stories.
So I write in my paper that when I spoke to those women, nothing that they said shocked me. Because at some point in my 15 years as a Black African woman journalist, I have experienced some of what they have experienced. But I think for me, it then said that we are in an industry that has not self-respected. We are in an industry engazinuki samakhwapha, if I may say in my language in isiXhosa. We don't self-introspect. We don't have conversations. We don't have hard conversations. And I think also what broke my heart when I was having the interviews with these women is how someone who entered the newsroom in 2024 has a similar story to tell with someone who entered the newsroom in 1994 when they were even not born, right? And I think for me that has been the thing that has weighed very heavily on me. But in as far as the experiences, I identify with all of them, and other women that have spoken to me since my study was published have said that they see themselves. And I say in the study that I obviously spoke to women in print and digital platforms because that's where I was intentional, because I understand how that space operates and the nuances. I didn't branch into broadcast because I've never worked in broadcast. But there are women who are broadcasters who have said to me, we have identified with what you have said. There are women in other industries, in corporate, who said that as a Black African woman in corporate, I identify with what you've written.
It's generally accepted, as at least in as far as the view is concerned, that newsrooms, and in particular South African newsrooms as well, are male-dominated spaces. You will have, yes, a lot of women in the newsroom, but that often hits a peak.
Yeah.
So there's almost a time period between which you as a woman can be in a newsroom, and once you've sort of reached that peak, then there's no vertical movement any longer. You have to move horizontally. And if it's not in the organization, then it's out of the organization. Speak to me about why you decided, because the experience that we've just sort of spoken about is all-encompassing for women, whether Black or white. Tell me why the particular focus on Black African women.
I think, Cathy, as women, there are there are shared struggles as just any woman, whether you are white, you are colored, or you are ever. They are shared by the virtue of you being a woman. For example, we will be prejudiced by the fact that at some point in our lives, for those of us who choose to have children, we have to take maternity leave. When you come back, you've been gone for forever. Maybe your space has been, so there are things that we share commonly by the virtue of the fact that we have breasts, we have a vagina, and all of that. But I was intentional to focus on Black African women because I think that they are privileges that other women of other colors enjoy that we do not enjoy as Black African women, right? And I speak about that in the paper, and I say that there's a double jeopardy that you suffer because you are a woman, but you also suffer because you are a Black. Whereas it would be, and I speak about Black African men, that they would not necessarily suffer what we suffer because they enjoy patriarchy, so they are Black, so there are things that they are excused from. Whereas all of these things, for us, they weigh on us. So I explore there in my paper. I explore things like things about how white women are treated in these spaces, how there are privileges that white women enjoy that we do not enjoy, but also how other women of other colors, you speak about how at some point in your career you kind of like reach the ceiling and you know that you can't go any further. But they are women of other colors that have gone and occupied the top position. And no one has ever questioned that. But if a Bongekilo or if a Cathy goes and occupies the top position in any newsroom, then there's something. Cathy is either she's sleeping with the CEO at the SABC. It's as though that your brains didn't get you there. The hard work that you have done going into the field, building your career, didn't get you there. So there's always a doubt. But with other women of other colors, they can ascend wherever they want, and there's never any doubt because you trust them, but you don't trust anything that has to do with a Black woman. And you speak about Black women. We are the foot soldiers in the newsrooms. We are in the majority. But no one trusts us. Everything that we do is questioned. So that's why I had to be specific, because I understand that there are privileges that we don't enjoy that other women of other races enjoy.
That's just starting us off. We're going to continue with this conversation shortly.
You looking for the best savings on spectacles? At Specsavers, enjoy 1,500 Rand off when you get tested at South Africa's trusted and most established optical group. Get 1,500 Rand off all frames in store, or use your 1,500 Rand off on our leading lens enhancements, such as drive light lenses that reduce artificial glare whilst driving. Book online or call your nearest store today. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply. After a 1-0 loss against Arsenal in the opening match of the new season, the Red Devils are searching for a win at Old Trafford.
Mason Mount! Oh, what a finish from Mason Mount! Kills it home 2-1.
However, the Clarets are gunning for a crucial 3 points away from home.
Just from Brownell! We're all square! What a goal from Burnley!
This is the Premier League. Experience Manchester United versus Burnley FC on Saturday 30 August at 3:30 p.m. Live on SABC3 and SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Do you know what's hiding behind the colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front-of-package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front-of-package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, heala.org. talkingpoint.org by the 30th of September.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Our guest this morning, Bongekile Macupe. She's the Deputy Politics Editor for News 24, and we're talking about a project that she had worked on as part of the Reuters Institute Fellowship, and it looks at Black African women and why it is that they leave South Africa's newsrooms. So one of the people you spoke to was Nwabisa Makunga, who was the editor of Sowetan, a lovely, lovely lady. And she, of course, subsequently stepped down from the Sowetan to ascend to a much more senior role within the organization. But the point that you make about the fact that since that exit, there is no African woman that is editing a national mainstream publication, whether it is print or digital. And that in and of itself says something, doesn't it?
It says a lot, Katie, and I think I say that, and I've been saying this even in conversations that I have, or even with people when we speak amongst colleagues. And I also had this conversation with Nwabisa when I was interviewing him. The thing is, there isn't a shortage, but it appears as though there is not any intentionality on the side of whether it's the executive or the media owners themselves to say, hi man, we've seen that, Katie can't do this, so let's try and mentor her, maybe prepare her for the upper echelons. So there isn't that. And the fact that publications that have been led by women before, when those women left, they were subsequently replaced by Black African men, you talk of the Sunday Times. I mentioned the Felicia Opel, who led the Sunday Times. And one of the oldest newspapers in the country, by the way, has only been led by one woman, a colored woman. When she left, she was subsequently replaced by black men. Nwabisa left. She was replaced by a black man. Who else? At the City Press, where I used to work.
Ferrial
left. She was replaced by a man. And I write in there, and there's also a picture in my paper of a wall at City Press. And she's the only, her picture, it's a portrait of all the people that have edited that paper. And it's majority black men. And she's the single. So it's concerning, Kathy, because it's concerning because there isn't a shortage. And I mean, someone was saying on Facebook, commenting on something that someone had posted, that they've had a career of 20 years in broadcast and all their editors have been women. I guess broadcast is progressive in that regard, but I can't say the same about where I have operated. In the years that I have worked as a journalist, 15 years, I've only been edited by a woman once at the Mail and Guardian. And that was Khadija Patel. I have never worked and I've worked for prominent newspapers. I've worked for Mail and Guardian, Sowetan, City Press, The Star, The Sunday Independent. I have never been edited by a black woman.
As you're speaking and you're making references to some of these really well-respected journalists and editors that the country has had, women editors, I'm just stuck on the fact that it's like we could count all of them on not more than both hands. That is literally the view that and this is in recent history. It is in recent history, not too long ago, not too far back for us to recall. Nwabisa speaks to you about one of the most hurtful moments that she experienced when she was still at Sowetan, and how people were referring to her. And I guess in this instance, people is not necessarily people on the outside, because they don't know the politics. So it's your colleagues. It's the people that are working with you on a day-to-day basis. Tell us about that.
It's people who will question a black African woman, Kathy. It's people in the industry who will ask, how did this woman get to where she is, as if she hasn't worked, and also the prejudice that we have in our industry that if you've never worked for a national title, therefore you cannot ascend to edit a national because we don't know where your rise it comes from. And like Nwabisa's rise was in the Eastern Cape, a regional newspaper, and obviously her bosses saw something and then they like, come and do this, and she did it brilliantly. You can't take that away from her, whether you like her or not. Right, so there's also that like what I was saying earlier, that you will always be questioned. You will always be questioned to say how, but you don't question. Men leave this industry, Katie. Men, you are a journalist yourself. You know of men who will leave this industry and go pursue other things, and those things fail. And they come back in the industry with open arms, and they don't come back and be foot soldiers. They will get a position, and I speak about that. In fact, the women that I interviewed, because I don't want your listeners to think that these are things that I say. It's people that I interviewed. Muiponi Malifan. Sure. She says that she can mention, she says, I don't want to mention names, but I can mention men who have left and come back, and they are welcome. And some of these men, I think Atandiwe speaks about them. She says some of them are mediocre. Some of them are still holding on to, you were the best journalist in 2000, you were the best investigator in 2000, but you come back into the newsroom because lefatselu shapile wherever you went, and you come back and the media owners are like, hey, here's an editorship role, when there are women who have been the engine of that newsroom.
I guess much of that also speaks to the perception of the boys' club, and how it is that people ascend to leadership positions within newsrooms in the first place. We're going to continue the conversation with Bongekile shortly. It is 11:30. It's time for your latest news headlines.
Thank you, Cathy. On the news headlines, SAPS Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detection, Shadrach Sibiya, has denied any interference in the disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team. The bail application of businessman Vusumuzi Cathy Mohlahlana has been postponed to the 2nd of next month in the Alexandra Magistrates Court north of Johannesburg. The same court has also postponed the case against Mohlahlana, his wife and 3 others to the 7th of October. The Bishop Levy's Crime Prevention Forum on the Cape Flats has condemned the fatal shooting of a 26-year-old man outside a primary school in the area this morning. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
Mzansi, get ready to Panda Pusha Play. Play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 76 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Tuesday. That's right, play Powerball for an estimated 31 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 45 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120*7529# for USSD. Panda Pusha Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
The Paria have engraved their name in the history books of African football. They're in the semi-final, looking for a path to the final. But the Falcons of Jadiane have a secret plan to prevail. This is the semi-final contest of the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Catch Madagascar versus Sudan this Tuesday, 26 August at 4:30 p.m. Live everywhere for everyone. Always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Spar brings you super savings. Get 175 gram Protex soap
any two for 24 Rand, and 50 megs free data on Spar Mobile, or 100ml Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection toothpaste, or 150ml Triple Action, any two for 42 Rand, and 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Thus, you could win your share of 6 million Rand in instant cash. Price is valid until 7 September 2025, while stocks last. T's and C's apply.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
You're listening to The Talking Point. We're looking at why Black African women leave South Africa's newsrooms. What are the challenges that exist within the space? Yes, focusing particularly on print and digital, but I think a lot of what Bongekile Maqhupe has looked at really applies probably across the industry, across newsrooms on different platforms. Bongekile, the Boys Club, it's funny because this idea of a boys club exists in almost every newsroom. And it takes on different shapes, different forms, but it's consistently there. What is the boys club?
What is the boys club? The boys club is the men in the newsroom. It's the privilege that the men enjoy in the newsroom that you and I won't enjoy. And I think one of the studies that was done by SANEF either in 2006 or 2018, and I mention it in my paper, says that around apartheid in the newsroom, the white men were in charge, right? And they kept all the resources to themselves. They were the movers and the shakers. And then it says that, with the dawn of democracy, then the black men were allowed into the table. And the black men were allowed into the table, and they closed the door and they sat comfortably. So that's the boys' club, the men that enjoy the privileges, the men that will be given more resources. Mapula Nkosi speaks about when she was still at the Soweto, at the City Press back then. She had a small magazine that she was doing. She was the lifestyle editor. And she says that she actually had to go and beg artists to say, please be in the cover, and go to like people like Stone Cherry at the time and say, please dress this artist to be on the cover, because she wasn't given the budget. And she speaks about, but in the newsroom, the investigation department, which was mainly male, which still is the case in newsrooms right now. Many investigative journalists are men. She says that they had all the resources. They even had their own wing in the office. But I had to go around with a begging bowl. I don't write it there, but she says that she had to stop doing that when Lebu Mashile said, I'm not going to do that for free. Do you think I'm just going to come on a cover for free? And she said she had to introspect, because when she went, people didn't think her work was important, but it was bringing in the numbers. So those are the privileges. Atandiwe Saba speaks about when she worked for a Sunday newspaper, and how even though she was friends with this boys club, and this boys club kind of like protected her, but the system was what really favored the boys. And she says that sometimes the boys would have weaker stories than her, but they would get high five, and the stories would be splashed in the front page. So it's that network of men, that when you and I are rushing to go to our babies, they go out and meet at a bar and they discuss whatever. That if when an opportunity arises at another publication, it will be easier for them to think of Tsepo instead of thinking of Bongekile. But also, it's these people, because some of them are political journalists, so they have proximity to comrades and ever. So they will introduce the editor or the owner of the publication, and therefore, by virtue of them bringing the owner or the editors into close proximity with the elite of the country, then they get a special treatment.
Sure.
Their stories are not questioned. Solima Phumulo, Mzilikazi wa Africa, writes in his a tribute to Solima Phumulo after she had passed away, to say she had gone and worked at the Sunday Times. And if you know Solima Phumulo was incredible in what she did. She I think when I worked with her at the time, it was around the Zuma presidency, and she was one of the few journalists that had an in that. So he writes that when she got there, she was relegated to write stories chasing ambulances when this woman was an investigative journalist, and they didn't want them to collaborate because Mzilika's was an investigator. So it's that thing that even us as women, when we
Yeah.
are news editors, we trust men more than we would trust women. So it's that network.
Sure, so much to unpack. I think from the things that you were saying, and I think part of it even extends to how newsrooms as workplaces treat women, because the reality is that whether you're a mother or whatever the case might be, there will be times in your life when you have to deal with the things that you need to deal with regarding your health, regarding your family, etc., etc. And often these are looked at as, oh, there she goes again, needing another day off. Oh, there she goes again. Children this, children that. And I found that newsrooms are not always agile spaces. They don't always create space for everything that comes with being a woman and living, as you're saying. Romeo, you're in Newcastle. Good morning.
Jessica, good morning to you and to your guest. How are you this morning?
Doing well, Romeo. Go for it.
Thank you for taking up my call. I would not want you to forget also my fellow listeners of SFM. In your guest, in her opening remarks, and I quote, she said, women to be sitting on higher positions. Somehow we are being accused of men with men, sleeping around, and also many took us lightly, thinking that this is what we are doing. I think let's start from there. This is where the stigma that you need to fight. You need to fight very, very strong for you to sit on positions of authority, for you to go higher and higher and higher, considering the fact that the world we are living today is a world of competition, both women and men. Show yourself that you are capable to sit on that position on the fact that your qualification meet all the standards and the requirements. For me, I think if you fight that stigma of being accused of sleeping around or whatever it is, I think you go higher and higher. But it's not a thing that you can fight today. It's a thing that also government need to go into, also the private sector, to recognize that women are capable to lead all higher positions. And the more especially the government must be the leader. But if the government does not see reality and see how important you are, then honestly we shall speak about this again.
Okay.
In 2050, for those who will be alive to witness this.
Okay.
My only encouragement is that fight that stigma and show that you are also capable to run all higher positions. Thank you very much.
Okay, Romeo, thanks for that contribution. And yeah, the issue is not that there isn't a presence, as Bongikile is arguing, of women in newsrooms. There are lots of women in newsrooms. They probably make up, the majority of when it comes to the numbers. But where are they in the leadership position? And that's at the heart of what you are highlighting, that Black African women want to be seen and to be truly seen in all aspects of what they offer.
So when I was at the front line, when you were making your introduction, one of the questions that I was asked after I delivered the summary of my paper was, how can newsroom better show up for Black African women? And I just said, see us. Really, that's all there is. And everyone that I have spoken with after this paper was published has been like, Boy, Gile, thank you for seeing us. Thank you for seeing us, because sometimes it's almost though we are invincible, and the work that we do and the hours that we put and the sacrifices that we make, just like everyone else does, And my brother, who was just calling now, says that we need to fight, but there are people who don't fight. They just do their jobs, and that is what we do. And the playing level is not fair, So it's that, Kathy. It's that you won't see someone for breaking their back, for working hard. I speak about Athandiwe Saba. I worked with her. I know how strong of a leader she is. I know how at some point she was the engine of a former newsroom that we both worked at. But when the time came to say we are looking for a new leader, they didn't look at her,
I'm curious to know, Bongekile, because you are deputy politics editor at News 24 right now. And earlier you acknowledged that these women's stories are stories that, you can resonate with. They're stories that you can relate to. When you think about your own future and what else is possible for you beyond this, what becomes amongst your concern? Do you think that if nothing changes, you might follow the same trajectory?
It's such a hard and heartbreaking reality to contend with that, because ultimately that is likely going to be my route as well. As much as I love my job, and one of my friends, Ponso Pilane, said the other time when we were talking about me leaving, and she's like, friend, when are you the only one who's remaining here? Because all of my friends, the sisterhood that I made at Mail and Guardian, all of them are gone, and they were great at what they did, but at some point they needed, to choose themselves, and they left. And I love what I do. I love telling people stories. I absolutely love it. But at some point, because I have babies, I have children to feed, I am a breadwinner, and I have dreams, I have goals, and at some point I might have to take that route, as hard as it is, because the system will probably never allow me to get to the executive floor, so that is the difficulty. And the women that I speak with will tell you that I didn't fall out of love with journalism. My friend Nelisiwe Msomi, who currently works for one of the top secret I can't mention where she works, when she, after reading my paper, and she wrote me a long text, and she says, it breaks my heart because I really love journalism and I miss journalism. But journalism was so unkind to her. At some point, journalism was unkind to her when women were leaders, when women were her direct reports. So, and I speak about that, Kathy, as well, to say that, because we mustn't say, oh, the boys' club, whatever. Us as women as well, we are not kind to each other. When we get to the positions of power, we are not kind to each other. The things that we will speak about in the kitchen when we are making coffee, that we suffer when other people, when we get there, when we are given the opportunity, we don't treat people with grace. We are not kind to, we are not interested in people's careers, in their development, because we have now ascended to being, it's either you had a division or whatever. Okay. We make people cry.
Bongekile, unfortunately, we don't have any more time, and this is where we're going to have to leave it today. Thank you so much for coming in, and especially for your honesty in this conversation. So I guess the question that this leaves us with is, what then becomes of the media that we consume, the publications that we read? What is lost out of not having the voices of women being able to shape and to direct some of those narratives? What does that do for our society? What does that do for us as a people? What is lost when women are capped within the industry. I think it's a good note for us to leave it. Up next is the book reading. The Talking Point is back with you tomorrow between 9 and midday.
Unleash your beauty at Dis-Chem's Beauty Fair, where color meets confidence. Going bold? Red lips and power brows say it all. Flirty and fun. Smoky eyes, glossy lips, and lashes for days. From effortless chic to full glam fabulous. Your perfect look starts here. Dis-Chem's Beauty Fair is on. Shop the hottest cosmetics, fragrances, and skincare at prices too good to resist. Don't miss out. Offers end 14 September.
Hey there! Need to know your TV license balance but don't want to wait? No sweat! Just send a quick SMS with your ID or TV license number to 44210. Remember, standard SMS rates apply. And presto, your balance pops right up anytime, anywhere. It's as easy as pie. So why procrastinate? Give it a try and get your info in a flash. T's and C's apply.
Let's rewind 6 years, when Twitter was still Twitter, not a letter of the alphabet. TikTok was simply the sound your clock made. And Zoom just meant enlarging a picture. So it makes you wonder, what will the next 6 years bring? Ohino trucks now come standard with a 6-year drivetrain warranty, covering everything from pistons to gears. So although a lot can change in 6 years, our warranty promise won't. T's and C's apply. Hino, all the way.
Get ready. Panda Push-Up Play, Powerball and Powerball Plus for 76 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Tuesday. That's right. Play Powerball for an estimated 31 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 45 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120*7529# for USSD. Panda Push-Up Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
SFM's award-winning drama department presents another episode of the book, A Testament of Hope, the autobiography of Dr. Sam Motswenyane. Please note that the views expressed in this book are not that of the station. Listeners' discretion is advised.
The mission in Riyadh also became deeply involved in promoting awareness of investment opportunities in South Africa during my tenure in the Gulf states. It was necessary for South Africa to explore reciprocal opportunities for trade and investment in the host countries. In order to ensure the fulfillment of the objectives, the embassy embarked on an ongoing program of organizing business seminars in all the countries of accreditation to which South Africa and local business people were invited to participate. Prominent business leaders from South Africa like Mr. Mike Rosholt and Mr. Warren Klulo, both former chief executive officers of Barlows, the late Dr. Cathy Mohlahlana, former chairman of New Africa Investments, NAIL, Mr. Jan de Bruin, former general manager of the Development Bank of South Africa, Mr. Ian Golden, CEO of the Development Bank of South Africa, Mr. Berger Muller of Standard Bank, Mr. Yaku Mare, the Chief Executive Officer of Standard Bank, Rafik Begos, CEO of Investment South Africa, and the senior management of both Eskom and the Development Bank of South Africa, all took part in the seminars organized by the embassy. The business seminars also involved local business people who were invited by their business chambers to take part. In Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Yemen, and Oman, officials of the local chamber worked in close collaboration with senior embassy staff and myself to ensure that the seminars were well organized and properly run. From South Africa, contact was made with NAFCOC, SACOP, and the Afrikaanse Handelsinstituut, and these chambers consequently became involved in discussions with their counterparts in the Gulf states. The sectors catered for in the seminars were mainly manufacturing, construction, mining, agriculture, and tourism. In addition to holding the seminars, I personally visited many companies in the first 4 sectors above in all the countries of accreditation. Saudi Arabia being the largest and most developed country in the Arabian Peninsula, it naturally provided the greatest scope for trade, investment, and tourism. Accordingly, this is where my attention was primarily focused. In my travels in the rural areas, I visited vegetable and fruit farms in Tabuk on the northwestern part of Saudi Arabia near the Red Sea. I also visited flour producers at Taif to the south of Mecca. Near Riyadh, I visited Al Safi Dairy, one of the largest in the world, and the Al Maria Dairy, the world's largest in Al Khobar, situated 100 kilometers east of Riyadh. On the far northeastern part of Saudi Arabia, north of Jubail, just south of the Kuwait border, I visited the Baha Saliconia growing projects at the Ras As Zawar. Saliconia is an edible plant that is irrigated with pure sea water. It is a salty twig-like plant which grows in salt marshes. The extensive cultivation of Saliconia is aimed at providing nutritious feed for camels, which are found in abundance in the area. What is quite interesting and amazing about agricultural development in Saudi Arabia is the fact that, despite the obvious limitations due to water scarcity as the country is largely semi-desert, one finds 2 of the largest dairies in the world in that country. Much of the water used in agriculture and for domestic purposes comes from the desalination plants that operate from both the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf, from where the desalinated seawater is pumped hundreds of kilometers into the interior of the country. Underground water, where boreholes are drilled, is found in many places at a depth of up to 1,000 meters or more. Saudi Arabia is therefore mainly dependent on imported agricultural products. The exception is poultry, where the country is self-sufficient. South Africa's participation at the Riyadh Agricultural Shows in 1998, due to the ARC's involvement, was an attempt at opening a new market for the export of our sheep, goats, and ostriches to Saudi Arabia and other Gulf countries. The South African ostrich industry has today already achieved a visible foothold in that country. A further contribution to the development of wildlife conservation in Saudi Arabia was made by South African researchers and experts who volunteered to work in that country to help repopulate it with those wildlife species that were becoming extinct in that region. In this context, President Mandela's contribution of 3 cheetahs to the Riyadh Zoo in 1998, while I was in the area, served as a great boost to the wildlife conservation initiatives in that country. With regard to mining, construction, manufacturing, and tourism sectors, a South African technical team consisting of experts representing these sectors was sent to the region towards the middle of 1998. I accompanied the team from Sana'a, Yemen, where several meetings were held with businessmen and government officials. From Yemen, the team went to Saudi Arabia and held a 2-day seminar in Jeddah with officials of the local government, representatives of King Abdul Aziz University, Dala Industrial Projects Departments, Reza Environmental Engineering, Al Mabani Group Contractors, Saudi DRCD Consultants, Saudi Consultant Water Treatment, Dar Al Handasa Consultants, United Products Company, manufacturers of perfumes, toiletries, cosmetics, foodstuffs, and printing, Dalal Group, food, media, engineering, hotels, banking, Hansefrak Co., projects and freight forwards and trade relations with South Africa, the Burger Holding Group, Merco, consultant promotion of investment and commercial services, international catering and trading company, Saudi Marble Co., Jeddah Chamber, Deputy Minister of Mineral Resources, Mr. Ibrahim Al-Kabir Al-Fadi, Deputy Merco Business Consultant, Arabian Shield Development Co., Munjani Mining Co., Al-Dalbah Holding Group Mining, Bin Laden Group Construction, Marden Co. Mining, Mohammed Bahmani Engineering General Construction, Warila Diesel Co., SA Ltd, Saudi Basic Technologies, Al Mabani Co., and Seco Saudi Electricity Co. Desalination Plant. After holding very successful seminars where valuable discussions and exchanges of ideas took place, team members were invited by individual companies to visit and inspect their operations in order to provide some expert in local guidance. From Jeddah, the team visited Kuwait and finally Riyadh before returning to South Africa. On the defense and military side, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and South Africa also had some important interactions which resulted in certain formal agreements being concluded. Insofar as contact with various educational institutions in countries of my accreditation is concerned, I made efforts to visit most universities operating in those countries. It was also in Yemen where I was unable to meet with the university leaders. In Saudi Arabia, I visited King Abdul Aziz University in Jeddah, the King Fahad University of Minerals and Petroleum in Daman, the University of Medicine in Daman, the King Saudi University in Riyadh, and the Prince Sultan University in Abha, Aceh province. In Kuwait, there is one university, the University of Kuwait, which was then headed by a woman, unlike the other universities I had visited in the region. In this respect, it appeared that Kuwait was much more liberal than the neighboring Gulf states in terms of the respect and recognition of women's rights. Around 1998-1999, women in Kuwait were quite vocal about their right to be allowed to serve on all policy-making bodies of the state. There were, however, certain elements in the community who were vigorously opposed to this.
That was another episode of the book, A Testament of Hope, the autobiography of Dr. Sam Mohlahlana. The book is available online on www.kmmr.co.za, KMMR Publishers, and in all leading bookstores countrywide. It is broadcast on SAFM at 11:45 Monday to Thursday on The Talking Point. It is produced for the station by Vovi Patala, read by Samson Kumalo. Technical production, Wiseman Manele, Nanda Koza, and Tato Mapuruma.
After 12 on Tuesday, the 26th of August 2025, a very warm welcome to Updated Noon here on SAFM. Leading the conversation, I'm Sakina Kamwendo. Coming up in the next hour.
It can't be that I'm the only one who interfered, who did this and that. Over and above, there are many people that are in the system.
As South African Police Service Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detection, Shadrack Sibiya, has denied any interference in the disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team.
Currently, the total number of registered political parties is 472.
And the IEC has announced that 34 new political parties have been registered since the 2024 general elections. Coming up in sport.
Busy night in the Premiership tonight. I'll look ahead to all the games. And Lloyd Harris might have hit a brick wall at the US Open in the next round, but he's through to the second round.
More on that with John Gericke in the second half of the show. In the meantime, let us hear from you. What's on your mind? Share your views with us on 41391. That's our SMS line number. You can also write to us via X at SABC News_radio, or you can send us a WhatsApp voice note on 082-692-3909. Well, these and more stories coming up on this Tuesday edition of Update at Noon. First, though, is the latest news with Mohlahlana.
Thank you, Sakina. On the top story, Zambian President Lungu's family's urgent bid refused by court, and Gazan student granted approval to study in the UK. For SAFM News, I am Mohlahlana, and a very good day. The Constitutional Court has refused the family of the late former Zambian President Edgar Lungu's urgent bid to directly appeal the judgment of the High Court in Pretoria. It has found that the Zambian government are entitled to repatriate Lungu's remains for the purpose of a state funeral and burial. The ConCourt has found that no case has been made out of for a direct appeal. The family turned to the Apex Court in a bid to have the entire High Court judgment set aside and replaced with an order that dismisses the Zambian government's application with costs. SAPS Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detection, Shadrack Sibia, has denied any interference in the disbandment of the political killings task team. His case against National Police Commissioner Fanny Masemula was not heard today after his legal counsel requested a special allocation on the matter and a full bench to preside over it. The Deputy National Commissioner was placed on leave of absence after KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi linked him to criminal syndicates. Speaking outside court, Sibia denied allegations that there was correspondence regarding the disbandment of the task team.
I never interfered, and what I also can say is that in the whole system, it can't be that I'm the only one who interfered, who did this and that. Over and above, there are many people that are in the system with a matter that has been handled since January, with a lot of feedback being given, a lot of meetings being held, going in and out of Parliament discussing the same matter. Now, how do you then pin it on one individual and say this person did 1, 2, 3, 4?
The bail application of businessman Vusumuzi Cathy Mohlahlana has been postponed to the 2nd of next month in the Alexandra Magistrates Court north of Johannesburg. The same court has also postponed the case against Mohlahlana, his wife and 3 others to the 7th of October. The prosecution says the 5th person was recently charged with money laundering. The other 4 are facing charges of attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, fraud and attempting to defeat the ends of justice. Gauteng NPA spokesperson Pindi Mjonondwane elaborates on Mohlahlana's wife's alleged role.
She's facing charges of money laundering, but as to what role she played, that forms part of the evidential material that will be led during the trial stage. So much of that information will be led during the trial, and the state will be in a position to show her involvement in the matter and how the money was moved from her account, how it was also received into her account.
The Bishop Levy's Crime Prevention Forum on the Cape Flats has condemned the fatal shooting of a 26-year-old man outside a primary school in the area this morning. Police say the motive for the attack is unknown and no arrests have been made yet. The chairperson of the forum, Graham Lindhorst, says it is unacceptable that learners are exposed to such levels of violence.
Although it was not a learner that was fatally shot, we condemn the fact that this shooting takes place in the vicinity, around the vicinity where learning is taking place. We call on SAPS to really start to become proactive, because we cannot have a SAPS that keeps on reacting.
The British government has approved plans to allow about 40 students in the Gaza to travel to the UK to take up university scholarship. The group of Palestinians, including doctors and teachers, will be the first to leave the territory to study in Britain since the war began nearly 2 years ago. The BBC's Daniel Wittenberg reports.
The decision follows months of campaigning by politicians, academics and others. Each individual student will have to be cleared to leave by the Israeli government. Several students raised fears they might die before they could leave Gaza. Dependents will not be covered by the scheme. Some students said they would be heartbroken at having to leave loved ones behind.
Recapping the top story, the Constitutional Court has refused the family of the late former Zambian President Edgar Lungu's urgent bid to directly appeal the judgment of the High Court in Pretoria. I am on Delambada for SFM News Headlines at 12:30.
Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m. Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo.
Well, thanks, Ondela. Good afternoon, everybody. It is 9 minutes after 12. Thanks so much for tuning in to Update at Noon. So quite a few stories bouncing around, and just looking at my screen, the Electoral Commission on election preparations, that briefing taking place. And as you heard there, about 34 new parties registered just since last year's general election. So we'll tell you more about that. And then, of course, some of the other stories, there were quite a few court stories that we were keeping an eye on. Of course, then a bit of a delay in the Sibia case. Gauteng High Court in Pretoria hearing or supposed to hear the SAP's Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detection, Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya's bid to invalidate the National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemola's decision to direct Sibiya to stay at home pending an investigation. So that particular matter we'll get further details on from our reporters, Bahle. And then some of the other stories, okay, this one, Matlala, you also heard in the news, the disgraced businessman Vusmuzi Kat Matlala was expected back in court, and of course his wife and two others appearing alongside him at the Alexandra Magistrates Court. Sasha Naidu was watching that one, so we will just get details from our reporters about what was said as these cases were postponed in court. And then a few others as well. Two senior Hawks officers accused of interfering with a criminal investigation in the case of the killing of two ANC leaders in Mokopane. They appeared in Limpopo today. And businessman Colin Mashawana, he, of course, then hit the Daily Maverick journalist Peter Louis Myberg with a gag order. And that followed a report connecting the firm to a contractor involved in the construction of a private residence allegedly associated with the suspended IDT CEO Tebogo Malaka. So those are some of the court stories. Also coming out this morning, the Statistician General of South Africa, Risenga Maluleke, releasing the Victims of Crime report from a Governance, Public Safety and Justice Survey for 2024-2025. And interesting look there at some of the trends that have emerged from that. And then this story, a neighboring Botswana has declared a state of health emergency. Now, this follows reports of a shortage of medicine in clinics and hospitals in that country. And different organizations are now trying to pump money into efforts to turn things around there. But of course, many concerned that this would mean a further burden on the South African health system. So we'll take a look at what's happening there. And then lobby group Saka Liga, they've issued an ultimatum to President Cyril Ramaphosa and key ministers demanding immediate intervention in the collapsing Disobotla municipality by the 15th of August. So they've taken legal action to compel the national government to step in, and obviously citing years of failed service delivery, administrative chaos that we've reported on so many times, and also alleged negligence by provincial and national authorities. So those are some of the stories that we're tracking this afternoon.
Sakina Kamwendo on SAFM.
From the brilliant buzz of Joburg to the beautiful beaches of the Eastern Cape, Fly Safe has you covered. That's right, from 1st November, we'll be flying from Lanseria Airport to both East London and PE, just in time for the holiday rush. Tickets are on sale now from only 770 Rand. So whether it's for work or play, plan your Eastern Cape escape from Lanseria or vice versa. Book now at flysafe.co.za. Fly Safe, for the love of fly. T's and C's apply.
Get ready, South
South Africa, 12,000 athletes from every corner of the country will hit the ground running in the 5th edition of the Hollywood Bets Durban 10 Kilometer. A thrilling road race starting and finishing at Hollywood Bets Kingsmead Stadium. It's more than a race. It's all about community, good vibes, and rising to the challenge. Catch the action live on Saturday, 30th of August at 7 a.m. on SABC2, SABC Plus, and across SABC radio stations. Hashtag Let's Run and feel the energy. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Early hours of the morning, our champions of democracy open voting stations for us. 55% of the 27.6 million registered voters are women. We salute your strength and leadership. Late into the night, they count votes for us. Majority of women voted in the last elections. We salute women championing democracy and shaping South Africa's future. Make your voice heard at the ballot. All roads lead to the 2026 local government elections. Register or update your details. Show up and let your vote count. Here's to Women's Month. Women champion democracy. Visit elections.org.za for more or call 0800 11 8000. This message is brought to you by the IEC.
Bafana Bafana will host Nigeria in a FIFA 2026 World Cup qualifier at the Toyota Stadium on Tuesday, 9 September at 6 p.m. Tickets are now available nationwide and online from 70 Rand for adults and 40 Rand for children at all Ticket Pro outlets, including Spar, Postnet, and all petrol stations. Get your tickets early to avoid disappointment. Come in Bafana Bafana supporter gear, ready to sing for a win. Gates will open at 3 p.m. If you are not in Bloemfontein, catch the game on SABC2. For more information, visit safa.net and at Bafana Bafana on all social media channels.
Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m.
Now, IEC CEO Cathy Mohlahlana announced that 34 new political parties have been registered since the 2024 general elections. And this brings the total number of registered parties to 472. And this was announced by the Electoral Commission's Chief Electoral Officer, Cathy Mohlahlana, in a briefing to the media at Election House in Centurion today. Now, the Independent Electoral Commission also announced that it has received a clean audit from the Auditor General of South Africa for the 2024-2025 financial year.
Since the 2024 general election, the Commission has registered a total of 34 new political parties. 13 of the new political parties were registered in the period between July 2025 and today. Currently, the total number of registered political parties is 472. Of this, 287 are registered on a national level, while the balance of 185 are either registered provincially or on the district or metro level. Political contestants remain critical in the planning phase of an election. The Commission will convene a series of information sessions starting in November 2025 with registered but unrepresented political parties and aspiring independent candidates. These sessions will mark the beginning of a formal consultation with key stakeholders and will focus on, amongst others, the following: the legislative scheme for local government, requirements to contest for seats in a municipal council, the roadmap to elections and critical milestones, and lastly, how votes are converted into seats in a municipal council. On 18 and 19 June 2025, the Commission held an inaugural symposium on political funding in South Africa. The symposium brought together leaders of political parties, parliamentarians, representatives of civil society, and the academia to evaluate progress since the promulgation of the party funding law, including strides made reaching the desired ideal state. The highlights from the conference include the following. The adequacy of the current party funding disclosure requirement was raised for potential review. Stakeholders emphasized the importance of extending political funding support to the local sphere, exploring funding mechanisms for unrepresented political parties in order to improve inclusivity. They also raised the need to strengthen oversight and institutional capacity, particularly as it relates to monitoring and enforcement of the political funding regulatory framework.
And that was the IEC CEO, Simon Mobolo. So going into elections next year, a number of registered political parties with the IEC stands at 472.
Amakhosi have a different strategy. They want to collect maximum points in the early days of the season. While reigning champions, Masandawana, want to sing their happy song, Double Yellow. This is the Betway Premiership. Catch Mzansi's Clash of Giants, Kaizer Chiefs versus Mamelodi Sundowns, this Wednesday, 27 August at 6:30 p.m. live on SABC3 and SABC Plus. Then on SABC radio stations at 7:30. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Do you know what's hiding behind the colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front of package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org, by the 30th of September.
SA Sport Awards reflect our collective nation-building spirit. Mzansi's sport heroes and heroines have shown resilience, persistence, passion, discipline, and world-class achievements in the sports fraternity. Let us celebrate #Izinja Zegame. Catch the 18th Annual SA Sport Awards on Sunday, 24 August at 7:30 p.m. on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, then on SABC 1 at 8 p.m. Brought to you by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture in partnership with SASCOG and SABC Sport. Celebrating sporting excellence.
Sakina Kamwendo on SAFM.
Now, the Economic Freedom Fighter says that it's not surprised by the announcement of the indefinite delay in the commencement of the Commission of Inquiry into criminality, political interference and corruption in the criminal justice system. This was announced by the Commission earlier today, which is led by Chairperson Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga. Now, the Commission says that hearings will not commence on September the 1st as anticipated due to delays in the procurement of vital infrastructure. But for reaction to this, we join on the line now by EFF National Spokesperson Sinawa Tambo. Thanks for your time. Welcome to Update at Noon.
Thanks, Akina, and greetings to the listeners.
Sinawa, first off, your reaction as the EFF to the announcement, the statement that was released this morning.
Look, as you said, we aren't surprised, and we had said at the time when Cyril Ramaphosa placed Senzo Mchunu on a special leave, which is not provisioned for in the Constitution of South Africa, that this is nothing but a political ploy to play on the anxieties of the people of South Africa, because we all know that commissions in this country are ordinarily established to ensure that we forget the transgression in the immediate and over time we focus on another topical issue. Now, this is part and parcel of something that vindicates us, because if there was no forethought as to how this is going to be funded, how the infrastructure for it is going to be sourced, but also damningly, the fact that there's no existing infrastructural capacity to host a mere commission means that it was established just to play to the political gallery. And this proves that fact. I think what is worse is that as this entire chaos and disorganization occurs, Senzo Mchunu continues to draw a ministerial salary, ministerial perks, protection at the expense of the taxpayer, a house at the expense of the taxpayer, because there's no constitutional provision that has resulted in those being withdrawn from him. So I think that's the most damning thing about it. And that is why, for example, we call for Justice Mohlahlana to step aside from this process, because it's going to taint his legacy in the legal profession.
Oh, so, and I wanted you to clarify that. I was going to ask you about that. So you're asking Justice Mohlahlana to recuse himself because you don't want his reputation to be tarnished by this.
Absolutely. We think that he is entangling himself in the patronage of Cyril Ramaphosa, who has no intention or objective to practice consequence management on Senzo Mkhunu or anyone who is politically implicated in the capture of our law enforcement agencies by criminal syndicates and drug cartels. So the involvement of Justice Mohlahlana seeks to sanitize a pretense at taking action by Cyril Ramaphosa, and that is something that he should not entangle himself and his legacy to, as he risks the danger of forming part and parcel of the delay of justice in this country. So that is why we're making that call. We're not surprised that it's been delayed for this long, and anyone who had any belief that Cyril Ramaphosa has any true intention to persecute what he hoped would be Secretary General in 2017 is quite foolish.
So it's a delay. It hasn't been cancelled. Do you not believe that everything should be done according to the book before the process kicks off?
Look, the delay is indefinite. I think that's the most damning part of it. There's a press conference which will be held by the Justice Department this afternoon. Perhaps we'll get more clarity from there. But as things stand, it's an indefinite delay. And that means the initial targeted deadline of an interim report within 3 months is already implausible. So the manner in which this has started, the delays with which it has started with, just casts further doubt as to whether there's any seriousness or application by this administration to actually fight crime. It's been a legacy of commissions of inquiries, of presidential envoys, of special advisory councils, and none of them have yielded any results. And it seems like this is just going to form part and parcel of that long tradition of incompetence of the Cyril Ramaphosa administration.
So we know that Parliament have established their own process. They've actually established an ad hoc committee to look into this very same situation, the very same allegations that were leveled by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. What's the latest on that front? Are you happy as the EFF with how things are progressing there?
As the EFF, we are quite pleased with the state of the condition of the ad hoc committee of inquiry in Parliament right now. Last Friday, the terms of reference were officially adopted, which include allowing the committee, on the basis of applications, of course, to the relevant authorities to have access to documents which are classified, for them to be reclassified so that they can be able to be accessed by committee members. There was a consensus on the fact that they will begin with summoning members of the South African Police Services as the beginning of the inquiry, which will begin with the Minister of Police currently, the former Ministers of Police, Bheki Cele, for example, as well. And then those will proceed to institutions such as the NPA and other relevant law enforcement agencies. So there's been a progressive consensus in the committee from all political parties. And I think that should be a statement of confidence that democratically elected public representatives are actually taking this with the seriousness it deserves. And no one should be allowed to cast aspersions on the integrity of a parliamentary process, because that parliamentary process is a product of democracy, rather than commissions of inquiries which are established to play to political carousels by the President of South Africa. So we're pleased as things stand with the process of the ad hoc committee, and I think that is the most independent place where this is going to be able to happen, because at least it doesn't depend on the Justice Department, which is going to deliberately sabotage, in our view, funding for investigations to occur.
Why would the Justice Department do that, though? Isn't it in everybody's interest, given how publicly those allegations were made, to get to the bottom of this?
Look, I think it speaks to, because if we look at the commission inquiry, its title, which we read as we opened this interview, it also speaks to political interference in law enforcement agencies, and political interference is prevalent in the Justice Department. And we know, for example, it was Advocate Shamila Batowi, the head of the NDPPA, who said that there's a nefarious interest within the NPA who are stifling justice. We've known that there's been an ongoing war between the Department of Justice and Shamila Batowi, with her wanting to have access to classified records in the department, with the department resisting that. So there's a lot of political interference, and of course the department itself is headed by a person who's deployed by a political party. So it is fair to assume that there might be political interference within the Justice Department that is stifling procurement processes, but also for the fact that they have left the procurement process to last minute. We saw the National Dialogue having legacy foundations pulling out because they were suspicious that there was attempts to fast-track procurement last minute, which would flout the Public Finance Management Act. This is possible as well as it relates to this process, and that is possibly why Justice Mohlahlana is alerting the public as to the fact that the necessary infrastructure has not been procured. There might have been a possible delay in procurement of infrastructure to the last minute so that public procurement processes can be flouted and emergency procurement can be made. So a lot can be happening in terms of political interference, but also nefarious procurement interests in terms of tendering that could be delaying this process. So it just speaks to the level of criminality that has infiltrated justice in the country.
We'll leave it there for today. Thanks so much, EFF National Spokesperson Sinawa Tambo. And just to indicate to you that attempts to speak to the Commission, unsuccessful from our side at this stage. But of course, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development is expected to address the media regarding this particular matter at 1 p.m. So please stay tuned to SABC News on our various platforms and you can follow that live.
Update at noon, midday to 1 p.m.
Now, the SAP's Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detection, Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya, has denied any interference in the disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team. Sibiya was speaking to the media outside the Pretoria High Court this morning. Now, his case against the Police Commissioner, Fani Masemola, did not continue in court today. This after his legal counsel requested a special allocation on the matter and a full bench to preside over it. The Deputy National Commissioner was placed on leave of absence after KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi linked him to criminal syndicates that have infiltrated the South African Police Service and having a hand in the disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team.
Bottom line is that there are processes and there's law in the country. Whatever step that you take, it must be within the law. So everyone has got the right, and we are all protected by the Constitution, and no one is above the law. All of us must behave and respond accordingly, as per regulations, as per what the Constitution dictates. So even if you feel that maybe perhaps I could be involved in something, there are processes, there are laws to be followed. You don't just act nilly-willy.
Deputy National Commissioner Buleli Chiti-Jones, ENCA, would you say that you misstepped or stepped over? The National Commissioner argues that despite him warning you not to be involved in the disbanding of the Political Killings Task Team, you went ahead, you overstepped and decided that you will ignore his plan to gradually and phase out the PKTT.
At this point in time, I'm quite sure that this is what was going to be ventilated here today, so that you could hear what is being discussed, the facts put on the table. Where I'm standing, I'm quite sure and quite confident that I've done nothing wrong, and it is for the judge at the ultimate end to finally say whether I'm guilty or not. But I can safely tell you that I'm actually waiting for a positive outcome. I do know that I am not involved in any wrongdoing, and we will be clear.
Okay, but did you interfere or not interfere in the disbanding of the PKTT?
I never interfered, and what I also can say is that in the whole system, it can't be that I'm the only one who interfered, who did this and that. Over and above, there are many people that are in the system with a matter that has been handled since January, with a lot of feedback being given, a lot of meetings being held, going in and out of Parliament discussing the same matter. Now, how do you then pin it on one individual and say this person did 1, 2, 3, 4?
Okay, so you're saying you agreed with the National Commissioner that the PKTT should be gradually phased out?
Look, there is correspondence in that regard that explain what happened, and that correspondence will be properly ventilated in court.
And that was Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibia speaking to the media outside the Pretoria High Court this morning. With that, it's time for your latest headlines. Here's Ondelambana.
Thank you. Second on the news headlines, the Electoral Commission says local government elections will take place anytime between the 2nd of November 2026 and the end of January 2027. This was announced by the IEC's Chief Electoral Officer Simon Mabolo at a media briefing in Centurion today. The Constitutional Court has refused the family of the late former Zambian President Edgar Lungu's urgent bid to directly appeal the judgment of the High Court in Pretoria, and the majority of African countries are still struggling to produce highly skilled young people who are employable in the global market. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
The rand is trading at 17 rand 65 cents to the US dollar, 23 rand 75 to the pound sterling, and 20 rand 50 to the euro. The euro is trading at $1.16 and the dollar's at 147 yen 51. In Brazil, $1 is trading at 5 real 41. In Russia, 80 rubles 25. India, 87 rupees 72. And in China, $1 is changing hands at 7 yuan 16. Markets in Asia extended losses at closing bell. Japan's Nikkei slumped 1%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng lost 1.2%. China's Shanghai Index shed 0.4%, while India's markets were also lower at the close of trade. The JSE also mainly weak at midday. The All-Share Index has dropped 0.5% and is currently at 102,414. The Industrials 25 Index off 0.8%. Financials are down 1.1%. Top 10 Resources Index has strengthened by 0.7%, and the Precious Metals and Mining Index 0.8% to the good. On the capital market, the yield on the R186 government bond is at 7.53%, while European markets are currently also in negative terrain. Britain's FTSE 100 down 0.6%. The CAC 40 in France has fallen 2.1%, while Germany's DAX is off 0.4%. And looking at commodity prices, gold trading at $3,378 per fine ounce. Platinum's at $1,333 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude oil is at $68.27 a barrel.
SAFM Sport with John Gerika.
Well, hello.
How's it?
Oh, good.
You ready for tomorrow?
Of course.
Eh?
I'm ready.
It's amazing. People throw forward to tomorrow's game. You know, there's a whole lot of football happening tonight, first of all. But there's the one game tomorrow. There's other games happening tomorrow as well, but we'll talk about that later. Orlando Pirates, MTN 8 finalists are in action against the mighty Orbit College tonight. Both sides have just 1 point from their opening 3 matches in the Premiership, though, but Pirates should dominate at home. Pirates boss Abdeslam Ouadou explains how they're working on building to the win.
We try to anticipate everything. We have an analyst department, very professional. We have seven people inside. They are working morning and the night, very committed for the club. So we try to have some information about the opponent. We try to cut some clips, of course, for the players to give them some input, some insight.
Also 7:30 today, Polokwane against Durban City. Durban City flying high without a loss so far, but the trip to the north could be a banana skin. Here's Coach Gavin Hunt.
I've been very surprised what I've walked into. You know what I'm saying? So, and I've been very pleased and happy with what I've walked into. There's a good mentality amongst the players. There's a good crop of people, human beings, good human beings in their dressing room, and that's the most important thing for me. I can work with them, they can work with me. You know, we're still gonna have fights along the way, but we're fighting for the right cause, and that's important. So I think I've been surprised what I've walked into, and it's refreshing for me, you know, to see people that want to work and want to improve and want to do well. So that's important. So I can't give them more pundits at the moment. We haven't won anything yet, but let's see where we finish. Let's see where we go.
Bottom of the table clash between Richards Bay and Chipper United. Stellenbosch host Marumo Gallants at 7:30 as well. Men from the Winelands haven't won yet, but opened with the Chiefs and Pirates. So they want to bounce back after those big sides. And TS Galaxy take on Siwilele, mid-table at the moment. The Bloemfontein side hoping that their fans will travel. Chan semi-finals happening tonight. It kicked off 24 days ago. Madagascar against Sudan at 4:30. Morocco against Senegal at 7:30. Springboks have their sights firmly set on Eden Park. South Africa have beaten the All Blacks in their last 4 encounters, but they haven't won on that ground since 1937. Here's loose forward Kwagga Smith.
It's a massive game going to Eden Park. I think even when we lost the other game in Auckland a few years back, it was also disappointing we didn't play well. So I think for us it's just taking the learnings from the first Australian game and then obviously learning from this game and take it into that game. I think it's going to be a tough game. New Zealand's obviously a great opponent, but I think for us it's just trying to get better every game and taking that confidence and learning from every game that we play to get better.
So Gina just saying that Kwagga's her favorite, one of her favorite players, right?
No, he's my favorite player.
Can I tell you why? You know, like superheroes, right? They all have superpowers. Superman, Spider-Man, they all have superpowers. Batman doesn't have superpowers. He's just really cool at what he does. That's what Kwagga Smith is.
And Kwagga's always there. Yeah. He's in the thick of things. Yeah, he makes things happen.
He's not huge. He's not tall.
Exactly.
He's just in there.
He's not the Andre Pollard, like
which has like superpower, kicking superpower, and the wings are speed power. And he just
does the business.
He's the Batman of the Springboks.
That's it.
Okay. Tennis news: Lloyd Harris advanced to the second round of the U.S. Open. South African beat Sebastian Baez in straight sets, 6-3, 7-5, 6-4 in just over 2 hours. He now has that brick wall. Fourth seed Taylor Fritz in the second round. Things can happen though. Today on the main court, Iga Swiatek is in action. Yannick Sinner directly after her. In the evening, Coco Gauff and Alexander Zverev are the highlights. The Vuelta today, fourth stage, 206 kilometers, a mid-mountain stage they call it. A really tough first half. Jonas Vingegaard leads. He's got the same time as David Gaudu, who won yesterday. Guillermo Ciccone is in third place, 8 seconds off the pace. That's it. See you later.
Good win for Liverpool last night.
It is. Good result. What is the 100-somethingth minute?
I tell you, the thing is about that, but it was a good win for me, watching them play, because I thought their first match in the Community Shield up against Crystal Palace, when I looked at that side on paper, I'm like, we can take them this season. And yesterday kind of made that point. It cemented that point for me, because they were up against a 10-man Newcastle.
Oh, Newcastle, yeah.
And
sorry, last night.
Newcastle came back from 2-0 down.
Newcastle looking strong to be able to hold. I think Newcastle to hold Liverpool 3-2.
Yeah.
With injury time win, they're going to feel very confident.
Almost the last kick. But also,
you're right. Teams are going to look at that and go,
they're going to we can take them. I think they're missing Diaz. I think that's hurting them more than they're willing to admit.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Okay,
but I'm happy.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Do you know what's hiding behind colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front of package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org, by 30 September.
The green and gold of Mzansi Africa and the green and white of Nigeria have a massive rivalry in search of victory. Bafana tackles the Super Eagles. The South clashes with the West. This is the FIFA World Cup African qualifier. South Africa versus Nigeria on Tuesday, 9 September at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC2. Also available on SABC radio stations at 6 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m.
And thanks for being with us here on Update at Noon. And John Jericho will be back with us tomorrow for more sports here on Update at Noon. Right now, though, let's turn our attention to stats that were revealed earlier today. Now, about 2.6 million households in South Africa have experienced housebreaking or burglaries during the past 5 years. And that's according to Statistics South Africa. And it says that in the 2024-25 period, an estimated 1.5 million incidents of housebreaking occurred, and that affected 1.1 million households across the country. Now, theft of personal property is the most common crime experienced by individuals aged 16 years and older in South Africa. About 43% of households that experience housebreaking reported some or all incidents to the police. But for more on this, we join on the line by Stats SA's Acting Deputy Director General Soli Molai. Thanks so much for your time, Mr. Molai. Welcome to Update at Noon.
Good day, Sakin, and good day to the listeners.
Just right off the bat, these stats, and we look at them and we could become alarmist about it, but what does it say about the level of crime in our country?
So if you look at the report that the Statistics General have released today, this is the report that zoom into the victims of crime. So we go to the household, we sit down with the household, and we ask them whether have they experienced crime. So we have divided crime into two parts, the one that looking at the household level and at the individual level. And I think the difference between the stats that we've released today and the stats that SAPS is releasing, remember SAPS, it's only when you go to the police and you report crime, and then they will release the numbers in terms of the crime that has been reported from their records. If you look at the numbers coming from our side, we have seen over time that housebreaking is still the number one household crime that most of the households have experienced. And if you look at all the different types of crime for household, we are seeing a slight decrease in some, but then I think the proportion are still small. But over time, we've seen that if you look at it from whether you look at it from the theft of motor vehicle or whether you're looking at the assault within the household, those indicators are saying as we're still experiencing more, especially if you break it down now from the incident side, because the incident meaning that solely have experienced that particular crime more than once. We are seeing that we're seeing, Sakin, a lot of incidents. For example, if you look at housebreaking, it's got the highest incidents, but then it's got the lowest reporting. What does it mean? It means that when you get to a house and you find someone went into a house, because remember, housebreaking is when you are not